Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Game Informer Show. I'm your host, Ben Reeves. Wait a minute.
That's the wrong Ben.
No, yeah, this isn't a gimmick, guys. This isn't a joke. Ben Hansen is on very special assignment.
Yeah.
He will be back next week. But in the meantime, we got Andrew Reiner.
You're the better Ben.
The better Ben.
Smarter Ben.
Oh.
Handsomer Ben.
Oh.
Better bearded Ben.
That's right. Have you seen his beard?
Have you ever had any facial hair?
Yeah, it looks terrible. It looks super thin and grimy. It looks like a Brillo pad that's all worn out because you've used it too much.
Donald Trump's never had a facial, like any kind of facial hair.
I don't want to be.
What would that
compared
be
to
like?
Yeah.
A Brillo pen.
But
yeah,
better Ben.
everybody's
Welcome.
favorite. Selfie master, Brian Shea.
I disagree with everything he just said about you being the better Ben.
Okay, well, and then self master, Dan Tech.
All right.
I don't know what that means. But yeah, we got a special show for you. To kick it off, we want to talk about Pokemon Go. Do you guys remember a year ago?
This new game.
Oh, yeah. You guys
Just came
I want
out.
to take you guys back a year, July 6th, a little over a year ago. Pokemon Go came out. We were all running around the streets collecting Pokemon. And we were like, we are never going to not play this. We're never going to stop. And we haven't, right? We're all still playing.
All of us? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
All
I'm
four
the
of us are
highest
playing.
level.
Certainly,
Shay has the most Pokemon.
certainly
Sure.
not playing like I used to.
I think some people are listening to this and like, Pokemon Go, nobody's still playing that. I
Mhm.
mean, people are still playing this. Like, not just us. Like, we still run into people who are playing this.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean the most recent official numbers were 65 million players worldwide.
Nobody
monthly.
plays it. Nobody plays it anymore. Then come on, just 65 million. That's
Is
like
this a
nothing.
Dan Tech bit?
It's not a bit. I'm just that's
Just
a,
roll your eyes.
Yeah.
That's a common. If you talk about Pokemon Go on the internets, you will get people that will tell you nobody plays that dead game anymore.
We also
Right.
hear that about Destiny and Overwatch.
I know, but I'm just saying.
Well, no, I had someone on Twitter say, like, why are you wasting your time playing that garbage? Like, it's a broken app on a phone. And I actually started thinking about that a little bit. Like, what else could I be playing? But then I realized, like, this fills a spot in my life that I'm not usually playing games. It's
Mhm.
maybe when I'm, like, waiting at Starbucks to get, a coffee where I might be checking Twitter or Facebook at that time. But now I'm playing a game. I'm catching
Sure.
Pokemon or, checking into a gym or taking down a gym to get, our color there, Valor there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's really cool in that capacity. And last year, I'm not playing it as much as I used to.
Sure.
Last year, I went all in on trying to catch everything. And that changed my life. Like, not just mine, but my family's as well, where we found ourselves trudging through the woods after a rainstorm in mud with my dog, my daughter, and my wife to go catch Charmander, because there was a Charmander nest in this park wooded area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. Like, I was like, this is such a unique gaming experience that only something like this could give me.
There are a lot
like,
of really cool memories that you have from playing it.
Oh yeah, you falling down a hill, catching a magic carp.
I actually took it. I was in Italy like 3 months ago, and I took Pokemon Go with me. Well, it's on my phone, so obviously I had it with me. But I was playing, and my wife's rolling her eyes at me while we're in this like Galileo museum.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to catch a Mr. Mime. Like in Mr. Mime.
Well,
is
turn on
super
AR
rare.
so you could be looking at the
Yeah.
art.
Yep. Oh yeah. I'm just taking pictures, honey. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. It's like things like that. That's one of the more memorable like video game experiences of this year, and it's Pokemon Go, which is kind of fun. You guys have any other memorable experiences
I think-
from the year?
I think that's the unique thing about it, your story, your little anecdote there, is that it intertwines with reality and real life, more so than other games. Like, you sit down, you play Destiny, whatever, you're done. When you're done with your round, you're done playing the game. With Pokemon, it's like, I'm out seeing, I'm at a fine art museum, but, hey, there happens to be a Charizard in here too, so I'll just grab that, and then I'll take a picture of this amazing statue,
Sure.
right? Or I'm on the
So I
gondola.
missed the second step. Is
Yeah,
that
yeah,
fun?
exactly right. It's very interesting to see, maybe not just for Pokemon Go, but for the implications for AR and VR, sort of in the future, for this kind of technology.
Sure. Well, about a year ago, we did a Man on the Street video, me and Leo Vader, who was once an intern and now is king of video. I don't know. What's his title? Yeah. Anyway, he's in the back room there. But yeah, we did a video and we went and talked to people on the street, and they all said like, oh, we're going to be playing this forever. We're going to be playing forever. And obviously for like 2-3 weeks, it did seem like everybody was playing. And I don't think all those people are playing now. So what would you guys say to people who aren't playing, who kind of jumped off ship? Is there a reason for them to come back?
It's the gym system is better. However, the game still has fundamental problems at the core, I think, which keep it from becoming a really great game and just make it an entertaining novelty to do on the go. Like the combat. It's not good, it's not great, and probably never will be. I mean, I think we can all agree on that. Yeah,
Yeah, but I don't think that's going to be a draw for most people. I think it is those interactions with other people, what you can do with your friends
Mhm.
that they really need to work on in terms of like cooperative play. I think they still need to enhance that. And I saw an interview with the head of Niantic that said they're like 6 months behind their schedule just because stability, like just getting that game to work with so much. They didn't anticipate this many people playing it. So it was just patch, figuring out new solutions to get this thing stabilized to a degree before they could start implementing new stuff. Now we're starting to see it, right? The gyms, this whole big update, Pokemon Fest, which is next week, next Friday or next Saturday. I'm going to be there. That should be another big thing. I think we're anticipating there will be legendary battles there and worldwide events. This means like people will be all across the world will be competing for one common goal, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up that festival. Like, I think that's an interesting thing that they have a festival now for Pokemon. Obviously,
it's
in
Chicago.
You haven't been yet, so we don't know what's going to be like. I'm sure you can talk about it after the fact.
Yeah, I think they sold out immediately.
Yeah, 30 minutes.
But there's going to be like 15,000 to 20,000 people in Grant Park in Chicago, which should be cool because there's going to be unique stuff going on there. It should be an interesting event to cover and just people watching as well.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm sure he'll get lots of unique Pokemon.
That's one of the best parts about the game is just us at work. We're like, hey, there is this huge Pokemon on this gym. Let's go take it down. 6 of us roll downstairs. And guess what? Just out in the sidewalk where there's normally nobody, there's like 4 people. Some guy that works at the airport came over, and it was cool to interact with these people and have this big battle to take down this boss. That's what that game is really. That makes that game so special. Is just those little instances that happen just in your normal life.
Yeah. And to your point, Reeves, what would bring people back? The raid system, I think, is an interesting thing that may do that for some people who were bored with it.
Right.
Since now you sort of have an incentive to stick in an area and kind of wait for people to show up to take down a bigger guy, and you get him after you win.
Right. Yeah, well, this is what I was hoping to talk to you guys about was the raid system. It's something they just released a couple weeks ago, and if you're not keeping up on Pokemon Go, you might not be familiar with how it works. But we got a chance to see it at E3, and Ryan, I remember grabbing a beer with you afterwards, and it was like one of the most excited I'd seen you at E3, and you're just like all talking about Pokemon Go. But the raid system, I don't know, I think it's pretty cool. Like, how would you guys describe it to somebody who hasn't played?
So basically, an egg appears on top of a gym, and it has a countdown on top of it. And when it reaches 0, it hatches, and it's one of 15 different Pokemon that it can be, and it's like one of the higher evolutions usually. So if it's like a 1-star difficulty, it's probably gonna be like a Magikarp or like a mid-level starter from Gen 2. If it's level 2, I think it's like Magmar, Electabuzz, a couple other ones it can be.
Weezing.
But
Weezing.
All these things have a lot more CP than they normally do.
Yeah, and so like level 4 is like a Tyranitar or Lapras, but they're like, anywhere from 25,000 to 35,000 CP, which is normally they max out at like 2,000 to 3,000 CP.
Yeah.
It took us like 7 to 9 people, right?
Yeah, to take down a Tyranitar, it was like I think there were like 8 of us, 9 of us taking it out, and we beat it with like 3 seconds remaining.
Yeah, they put you on a timer, so it's not just sheer manpower. You need to do it in a certain amount of time.
Up to 20 people can come in, try to take it down in, I think it's 3 minutes you have to take them down, and people have different teams, so like it could be red, blue, yellow, all joining together, and you take it down. If you take it down, you get bonus items. So there's new items like golden raspberries, which make it like a lot easier to catch a Pokemon because raspberries make it easier to catch a Pokemon. Golden raspberries just make it like extra easy. There's rare candy, which just translates into any type of candy that you want. So like if you have one Chansey and you've never seen another one, you want to power it up or get it closer to evolution, you could just give all your rare candy to Chansey and eventually you'll have enough without ever catching another one.
Or having to walk it.
Yeah. And then TMs, so you can actually change the moves of your Pokemon. It's just basically like a reroll, so you have no idea what you're going to get.
I haven't messed around with that too much yet. In fact, I think I only have one. But
there are only 2 available right now.
Okay.
So like it's just...
Yeah, there's fast TM and charge TM. It's just like, because you have 2 moves, fast and charged attacks. So it just re-rolls whatever corresponding moves. So like if you have if it's a fast TM, it'll re-roll your fast move for that Pokemon.
Right. Okay. Well, and that kind of goes back to what Dan was saying, is like the combat's not super compelling. Never really has been. So I'm not really too concerned with the moves that my Pokemon have.
But when you're doing those raids, you want the most powerful moves possible because they are tiered.
Yeah. So it's maybe something that maybe I haven't looked into, and so I'm not aware of how that functions. But maybe also they could do a better job of explaining that and like
Oh,
what the
absolutely.
moves do. And
I mean, they could do a lot better job doing a lot of things.
right, yeah,
They also just fixed the gyms too, whereas before it was 10 of the same Pokemon that would sit there forever.
Yeah, just Blissies everywhere.
Yeah, Blissey's, Charizards,
I mean, there's
Dragonites.
still Blissies and Dragonites
Yeah.
everywhere, but they do eventually fade if they're not.
And there's
fed.
also, you can only put one per species in
Right.
each gym. And there's 6 slots permanently, so you don't have to worry about like training and leveling up a gym forever, which is nice.
That's really nice. Having to do that was really annoying.
So they turn over a lot faster now. Like, it sucks for us when we get on it, but at the same time, they reward you better,
Right.
and then you get more gameplay out of it
Yeah,
because you're
I'm
going to take
earning-
it down again.
I'm earning a lot more free coins now
You're
than I
gonna
ever
get your
was.
It's way easier to get coins. The system is like streamlined. You don't need to click anything. Basically, you just get the coins when your Pokemon comes back up to a daily cap.
Mhm.
right.
So-
Yeah. I have noticed that it's way easier for me to get into gyms now than it ever was before. So if that was like a
Absolutely.
big frustration for you, is like I can't get in gyms, I can't earn coins.
Right, you'd have to like race all over town and be like, okay, now I've got 6 guys slotted. Now it's time to collect. Now you don't have to do anything.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that's really nice is like if you've never seen like a Tyranitar or a Lapras, you can actually catch the raid boss if you beat it. So you're given, premier balls based on your performance and your team's performance taking down the raid boss. And then like the raid boss shrinks down to like normal CP size, and then you're given the opportunity to catch it. And it's not going to run until you run out of those premier balls. So I think usually I get like 10 or 11,
Sure.
like on average.
Yeah.
So that's kind of nice. So
I've been
you-
able to catch most of the Pokemon at the gyms that I've fought.
I've not had any runaway. I've seen a few of them run away on other people's
Right.
phones.
But the big thing, back to your initial question, was what's going to bring people back, and it's
Yeah.
just more Pokemon, right? Like that's the big thing is people catch them too quick. Like Shay went bonkers with Gen 2, and he's done. Like he just needs the unknown, right?
Yeah, I'm just trying to power him up at this point.
So I mean, he's probably 3 months, 4 months away from getting new Pokemon. Obviously, that well is not infinite. They're
Right.
they can't just keep putting in new gens, but I think they need to start figuring out ways. Like the Pikachu with the hat, I think is a really interesting thing. Like, do that more. Do that for all your different Pokemon.
Right.
They're adding more shinies.
Make shinies more common. Like, give
mean-
people reasons to turn on their phone to catch stuff. Because Shay, he doesn't need to catch anything anymore.
right.
But if you have these uniques in there, that might up that chance.
Yeah, it might a little. I mean, for me personally, I have a dream of like catching all 151, which isn't even possible right now because
Yeah.
the Mews aren't in the game, the Legendaries aren't in the game. But if they put
They're
them in
coming.
and I caught them, I don't think I'd have that much of a desire to go catch like Gen 2, Gen 3.
That's my thing. Gen 2, I was like, what is this fish?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't have a personal connection with it like I did Gen 1. I think that's for most people, actually.
Here's the thing for me though is I didn't have that connection going into Gen 2 either, but playing this game made me go watch the anime, it made me go play Gen 2 games all the way from start to finish for the first time.
That's
so
what I mean. You went bonkers, though.
I went and
Wow.
played Soul Silver.
Pokemon
You went
Go
on
changed
a-
You went
yeah.
bonkers.
A Pokemon
It
Quest.
became
It just got me
Ash
right back into like Pokemon Go
Sure.
or Pokemon Fever.
Felt like a little Brian Shea again.
Yeah. Falling off a seesaw playing Pokemon.
Sure. Do you guys still have problems with the app crashing a lot?
Oh,
yeah.
Is that, and it heats up my phone. Do you guys have that problem?
It's
I could
always
like
done that.
warm my coffee by setting my sending down on my
That's
phone.
what it's made for.
Yeah,
It's
just like
it's a battery drainer.
yeah, it'd be nice if there was some optimization there still, but I think just gameplay wise, I'd love to see new combat. I love
Mhm.
what they've done with the gyms. Maybe continue that out. I don't know, bigger raid battles.
Here's what I want, and we'll never get it, but I want to see other trainers in the world as I walk around.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Oh god,
With
that
this-
would crash the phone
Stuff.
immediately.
I'm just saying,
wow.
that's what I want.
That's a cool
Okay.
idea, but and trading obviously, would
Right,
be
trading.
something that we
You could trade and battle them, and there'd be daily rewards.
Yeah, maybe it's like something like a sonar where if you're just playing the game, it's just normal. But if you ping it, maybe you could see where other
And
people
I realize there are problems with that, so I guess like you'd have to enable this, like to be a parental lock if you don't want your kid getting approached by some weird guy on the
Right.
street to trade Pikachus or something. I get that, but like make it an opt-in thing. So
All right, well, Pokemon Go. I think that's a pretty good recap. I
And
think
it's still super fun. And if you haven't played it, definitely check it out because it is such a unique gaming experience that shouldn't interfere with your other gaming. If that's what you're worried
Mhm.
about, like, oh, don't have time to finish Persona. This is like when you're in the supermarket or whatever. Just turn it on as you're shopping or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's a perfect way to think about it. And I mean, realistically, I don't know how long we'll all be enthused about it, but I'm surprised we're still here a year later, still playing it. So
Yeah,
hopefully
it's-
they'll keep working on it.
I
and-
still think it's awesome.
yeah. Well, Reiner, I know you're busy.
Yeah,
I
gotta
really appreciated having you on the show.
get back to Splatoon.
Brian, I know you got things going on too.
Got a lot of things going on.
Why don't you guys give yourselves a fist bump and fist bump your way out here? Oh my gosh, JV and cereal.
Oh yeah, we were just fist bumping
Hey,
randomly.
in the
Just got
kitchen.
teleported.
Where's my coffee?
Well, this is an amazing coincidence because I was actually hoping to talk about Castlevania next. And When I
Okay.
think about
Right.
Castlevania, I think about vampires.
Mm.
When I think about vampires, I think of JV and cereal.
That's fair.
I mean, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Like, I'm
Me
pale
too.
as hell, so yeah.
I'm more of a Danny DeVito type vampire.
But you and Tack, all three of you guys have watched Castlevania, correct?
I
Yes.
sure
The
have.
new Netflix show.
Yeah. That epically long series,
That's
right? Takes forever to finish.
all 4 of those episodes.
It sure felt long.
So oh, okay. Well, let's get into it.
All right.
All right. I watched the first episode, and this was after actually talking to you, Dan,
Mhm.
and you seemed kind of down on it. But I watched the first episode, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm kind of into this. I could see myself watching
First
more.
episode is the best episode.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So let's
So,
just give a general
First,
setup
like,
for
let's
people
get
who haven't
the
watched it.
let's get the primer here. We're not doing spoilers here today. Yeah.
I don't think we need to go super into it.
Okay.
Like, I think,
Just maybe the setup.
I just want to
Yeah.
make sure that people listening can feel safe.
yeah. Let's not spoil anything.
All right.
I think the general setup, though, everything that happened in episode 1, I'm comfortable talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the premise of the show.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
So I'll
basically all world building. That first
I'll
episode.
say I was very intrigued by it. I know it's technically based on Castlevania 3.
It is.
Mhm.
And I went and looked up the Wikipedia entry for Castlevania 3, and I'm like, yeah, I could see how this is maybe loosely based.
It is. But,
But they definitely have some license.
they put some nods in there for the hardcore fans too, a little later down the line. But the core plot is definitely like a little bit more. I don't know. It's certainly not the good guy kill all vampire thing that Castlevania
It's a little more
is.
morally gray.
Sure.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
let's just set up. So it starts out, this girl, do we know her name?
We do.
This woman goes...
Starts with an L, right?
It's like Lisa, right?
Lisa, yeah, it's
yeah,
Lisa.
the mattress company.
I love. Yeah, let's talk about mattresses.
She goes, she meets Dracula, and seems like there's a little budding romance going on there.
It is.
she's-
Yeah.
She's an unusual woman, and Dracula seems uncharacteristically nice to her. Let's just say.
It is
So
a-
it seems like there's something going on.
He's
Seems
very
taken aback by-
milady.
Yeah, he
Dra-
seems
Drac-
very taken
Dracula
aback by her
finds
bravery.
he finds the good of humanity in her, and he
Right.
thinks that humanity might be worth coexisting with after all, and then starts to give them, science, which is perceived as magic at the time.
Right.
So that gets her into some trouble. Long story short, Dracula gets very upset, and you're probably going to side with Dracula. So he's not really the bad guy in this.
Mhm.
Okay.
I know.
Well, that's
I
what I
was.
was curious about. Yeah.
I was like, yeah, you know what? Dracula did nothing wrong.
Okay.
All right?
Well,
That
flash
was-
forward 20 years.
Well-
later.
Hashtag Dracula was right.
yeah.
He does end up killing an entire village, but
He gave-
you
hang
can
on.
understand why.
He was very clear about.
He was
was-
jitterous.
He was an actual really nice guy about it. He's like, you guys have time to leave.
Yeah, you guys have a year.
Just bounce.
Get the hell out of Dodge. I am giving you a year, and then they don't, and they get what they deserve.
But if
Yeah.
not,
I
I'll
am
kill you.
totally,
If
I'm
not, I'll
totally
kill
Team
all of you.
Dracula.
Okay.
So like this is a recurrent thing with the series. There's not a whole lot of love for humanity. Humans are portrayed as pretty much scum and immoral and corrupt
Okay.
throughout the thing. And then you've got Trevor Belmont. Okay.
Best hero name
Well,
ever.
let's back up. I think
Okay.
people might be, if they haven't watched the show, the basic setup is Dracula falls in love with a woman. The church kind of like intervenes,
Mhm.
does some things, upsets him, and he's like, "All right, you've pissed me off.
Mhm.
You have a year to make peace
A
with
whole
your maker."
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
long
which is
time.
pretty generous. But then there's a scene too where it's like he's trying to like dredge up the like monsters from hell. It seems like
Mhm.
it's going to take him a year to like cast this spell where like he unearths hell on Earth,
Yeah, he
right?
just summons a bunch of
So I'm like, okay, there's a reason for that it gave him a year. And then a year later, it kind of ends, the first episode, a year later, Dracula's unleashing all his powers across the land.
And it's actually a pretty nice setup. And, as we talk about this, I don't want people to get the impression that I completely hated this. I thought it was a very mixed bag. And I think there are I hope that this will get people interested in some other anime, because this is an anime. There's no bones about it. Like, however you want to typify this thing, it's a westernized anime.
Mhm.
I think there's some other really great titles out there that you should check out if you liked this,
Sure.
that do a lot of these things better. And some of those would be Vampire Hunter D, Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, Hellsing, Hellsing Ultimate, stuff like that.
Okay.
Check those out. You will not be disappointed. Anyway, back to the actual thing we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
We got-
So, well, before we get into what's wrong, maybe I'd love to talk about like what's good. You guys
Mhm.
like
Okay.
anything
Yeah.
about it?
Animation style I really liked.
yeah, it seemed pretty good.
The dialogue was fine. It was
Mhm.
better than certainly a lot of other things in the.
Yeah, it seemed pretty well written, and it seemed it seemed differently voice acted than a lot of animes where it just feels like these are actors doing lines versus these are specifically voice actors. You didn't get the feeling of like I can recognize this person doing lines in a studio. It felt better acted.
Didn't feel like the general like over the top
yeah
voice acting I think some of us are used to with traditional Japanese
with
anime,
one
right?
exception.
Okay.
And I think that would be with Trevor's penchant for laying down F-bombs.
Okay.
They seem a little out of place and jarring at times.
Yeah, it's to me. It reminded me. I know we're calling it anime and whatnot, but it's written by Warren Ellis, who did like
Transmetropolitan.
Yeah, and it definitely feels sort of like that. It even looks more to me necessarily than anime, like that edgy '90s kind of comic, like Preacher and stuff. That's what it reminds me of, especially the violence and like the F-bombs and just some of the writing. Like, there's one point where Trevor has this line that's, he's in a predicament. He's fighting something and he goes, well, God shits in my dinner again. And it's like a very 90s sort of line.
That sounds like a very Warren Ellis line.
Yeah. So I like that aspect of it. Like, it's really, it definitely feels like something straight from the 90s.
Yeah, the combat is brutal and grotesque, which is good. I think that fits Castlevania nicely. There's plenty of gore. There's eyeballs getting ripped out. Lots of fun stuff like that. If you like that kind of stuff, you should check out the anime called Ninja Scroll. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
Oh, that's another 90s
That's a very
flashback.
That's a really you'll like that one.
That's definitely rated M for mature, whatever the anime people use.
It is. Yeah. It's it's adult content.
Okay.
We're all adults here.
It seems like one of your major complaints, Dan, is that there's other anime out there that's better.
Okay, let's talk about why. Like, I thought the pacing actually was weird, right? Because this is only like 100 some minutes, and it felt a lot longer.
It should have just been a movie.
There's a lot of exposition that's unnecessary, and after the exposition, it does like a post exposition where they're telling you about stuff they already told you. Like, it's just like, okay, we get it. Yeah, I understand they're trying to like keep the audience, make sure they constantly know what's going on, who's who, but it felt unnecessary and to the point where it's just like hammering it to your head where like, I don't know if you respect the audience enough to just keep telling them the same things over and over. We get it. We know who the bad guy is.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's interesting that it feels drawn out.
Yeah,
because I've heard some people saying that it kind of felt condensed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it feels
Cut
like
off too soon.
it feels like if we're gonna throw around game terms, it feels like a tutorial that ends right as like, okay, now you're ready to actually watch this series, and that's the exact point where it ends.
Certainly. And
All the
some of-
pieces are in place, and then they just roll credits.
Some of my gripes with it, I think, are because of that we never really get off the ground. Like, we never take off.
Mm-hmm.
We basically are like, okay, you're cleared to take off, and the plane's on the runway. We start to go up, and that's it. The series ends. So, like, all right.
Yeah.
But it's
maybe
only
we'll
4
see it.
episodes.
I know.
Yeah.
And it did get renewed.
But we can only judge
What I
things
heard.
on those
No,
4
I'm
episodes
just
currently.
saying, like, so there should be more coming.
Right.
So if you like what you saw,
Yeah,
like, good news.
And to be fair, like, I am in the same camp of like, this ended too soon, but I do feel like those last moments were really like a really promising setup for what could come.
Okay.
Like, it's a really strong ending. I feel like, even though like it ends too soon, I dug that ending because of like the promise it has.
And I think there are enough promising characters. I mean, Trevor, for as much as sort of his language is a little bit like not fitting with the period, I like a lot of. I think he's an all right dude. I like a lot of the supporting cast. Dracula actually seems like a character I'm interested in, not just like I'm totally the worst bad guy ever. He seems more sympathetic.
Yeah, he's not going blah blah the
Exactly.
entire time.
He's not the
Dracula is the coolest character in the series so far.
Sure.
Easily.
Okay.
So I want to see more of it. It's just like this isn't like as good a job as they could have done introducing them, but I'm invested enough to keep going.
Yeah, I'm mostly like, I left that series going, well, I mostly enjoyed my time with that. They could have fixed some stuff, and also I really want to know behind the scenes decision why they showed off 4 episodes and we're just like, and we'll bring the rest later. Like, it honestly feels like a movie that's been cut up into 4 different slices, with the third one being super exposition-y and sort of long.
Well, it certainly could not have stood alone as a movie. That's why, because it has no ending.
That's true.
Right?
I mean, it does have an ending. Like, it's just like, it's like watching a trilogy of movies. Like,
I suppose.
it has the same amount of ending that like Fellowship of the Ring does. To me.
Okay.
I think I consider Fellowship of the Ring more of a self-contained unit than this, but sure. I get where you're coming
So
from.
given that this has a pseudo cliffhanger ending, let's just call it, do you think people who are interested should wait until there's more coming out, or do you think it's worth watching this now?
It's only 100 minutes. Why not check it out now?
Yeah, if you're bored, just throw it on. Especially if you like vampire stuff.
And
You
I
could go either way, I think.
I've been critical of it, but like at the same time, as far as video game adaptations go, this is on the top end. Okay, so
Yeah.
Well, this is way above a lot of the other garbage
Dan,
we're often throwing.
Dan, don't trip over that low bar.
It's a very low bar, to be fair. but
Sure.
It's no Super Mario Brothers
They-
the movie.
Okay, but here's where I'm coming from. I watched the
Which
first,
is a masterpiece.
first half hour. I liked it, but I'm hearing some criticism. That makes me hesitant to even watch the rest of it because there's so much good stuff out there, right?
But you've already seen an episode. You've already got a taste. You should know by now whether you want to keep going.
Well, but
sometimes
like
it can
the
take a
first
little bit.
episode's the best one.
It
though.
is. It is.
Right. So, but I guess where I'm coming from too is like I haven't watched Westworld yet. You know,
Oh,
like
gosh.
I haven't watched The
Well,
Americans.
go home
There's
and go
tons
do
of,
that
like-
right now.
Sure, there's tons of good shows out there. Is this really worth somebody spending their time on?
No, you should watch Twin Peaks.
The thing is, it's such a small investment. I'd say fine. It's only 100 minutes, and you'll know what you know. If this was like Westworld or Twin Peaks or something that you have to spend hours upon hours to make that investment, especially with Twin Peaks, where you might not even know if you like it 30 hours in, right? But for this one, yeah, I think you're okay spending the time on it to get to get that feel because it is so short. We're talking 100 minutes.
And
Okay.
it's not like, honestly, it's not like you're buying Netflix just for this or like have a subscription. It's already there. You know, you're just watch it or don't. Like you don't have to put down money for it necessarily or any more money than you already do every month.
I think if you're just looking for a good video, a decent to good video game adaptation of one of the, a classic tale, a classic
Sure.
game,
Tales old as time.
right?
Yeah.
It succeeds in that respect.
Okay. So, one more question about this because I'm curious. Like you guys are talking about how Dracula, they're making a more sympathetic character, which is maybe I'm fine with that in an anime, but it's just interesting in Dracula. He's kind of like the series' big bad. He's like
Yeah.
the main guy.
I mean, he still is.
and this is based on Castlevania 3 theoretically.
It is.
So, do you think that they're maybe headed in a way like make him sympathetic, but he's still a villain?
Yeah, he's still going to be
Like,
the
are
big.
you guys fine with meddling with
Yeah, okay.
fiction in that level?
I think
Absolutely.
it's, considering how bare bones a lot of that. I mean, like I know there's like wikis and stuff, but the base game didn't seem like it was super like focused on story. So I think it's fine to like flesh out a lot of that stuff in ways that might not be sort of cohesive with the game's vision.
Yeah.
So I'm totally down with that.
I mean, yeah, like how old is Castlevania 3? You know, like
it's like a
25, 30
yeah,
years.
it's not from a time when games were necessarily concerned with storytelling. I'm fine with them taking liberties and trying interesting things.
Well, what if Dracula was like ended up being the good guy? Of the
He's not. He
series?
won't. This
No?
this is a very classic anime plot line, basically.
Yeah, I mean, at some point he's going to throw out Medusa heads, and then everyone's going to hate him. So it'll be fun.
That is something I'd like to see more of in the series. Is just tackling classic monster tropes that Belmont will fight.
Sure.
And there's an opportunity for that still. We just had basically. That's another thing. These episodes were basically set up.
Sure.
These are setting the table. Let's see if we eat at the end of the day.
Okay.
Yeah, it feels a lot like a Telltale sort of first episode almost to me. Where it's
Hey,
like,
okay,
this
is that a
promising.
positive? Is that a positive or negative?
It's
thing at
it's a
this
mixed bag.
point? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, one other interesting thing to note on this: some of the guys behind this project are also moving on to an Assassin's Creed anime. I heard.
And Metroid is right.
And was that a real?
That's just what I heard.
I think that was
Is that
a
a-
rumor,
that a
but yeah,
rumor?
I don't know. That'd be. I'd be more for the Metroid one, honestly, personally. But Assassin's Creed's interesting because Assassin's Creed is a series that has.
There's
lot of fiction
there's
behind
already
it
kinds of I would like to see a dark anime Metroid. That's like gold right there.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's one's ripe for like expanding
Yeah.
into fiction. I
Right.
think.
Mhm.
The Metroid's eyes pop off and just explode.
Should
in
people
front
be?
of blood.
Should Assassin's Creed fans be excited? One.
I think this is a
Sure.
promising case for that. Like
Yeah.
I think it, and with Assassin's Creed, there's a little more potential of just like instead of adapting 2 or Assassin's Creed 2, they could just do what the movie did and just sort of have here's Japan or wherever else, and we're gonna make our own story. But I think based on this, I guess it's fairly promising.
I
think.
honestly feel like Assassin's Creed is probably one of like the worst offenders of like in video games of here's our expanded universe and
Right.
almost none of it is worthwhile. Like honestly, the Chronicles games that they had,
Yeah, those are really bad.
those are so bad and they should be good, but there's this sort of slipshod quality to all of the Assassin's Creed offshoots where it's like, why? Like someone just put this through a machine. It wasn't crafted. Like the games feel crafted,
Right.
like even except when they're broken.
They're
But-
crafted
Except for
to be
Unity.
broken.
Yeah.
when they're broken.
Yeah, except when they're broken.
Oh, man.
But there's just something that's like not interesting about any of that stuff because it's so oversaturated, and it's like, why should I care about this character, this particular assassin that you have in this one story? Because you're just going to jump to like 20 other ones across 20 other various stories.
Well,
And
I
there's
mean,
not enough time for me to like care about this character like I care about Ezio or the brother and sister in Syndicate.
I don't know. I maybe would have said that about Castlevania in a way, like just like this particular I didn't necessarily care about Trevor Belmont before this series. I think I'm more sort of I think when I say promising, it's more on the merits of this studio and how like I think they did a decent job, like better than most, more so than like, oh yeah, Assassin's Creed is a thing I've always wanted, because like I agree with Jay that most of the side stuff for Assassin's Creed has not been great.
Sure. Yeah. Did anybody here watch the Assassin's Creed movie, the live action film?
I watched like half of it on a plane. Said I had enough. I'm
Oh,
good.
it's not even worth watching on a plane. All right.
Yeah,
I watched it in theaters. It was not very good.
Wow.
You should have walked out of that theater.
I
was with friends and I didn't want to.
JB, you should have walked out
What
of
else
that
would I do?
plane. Yeah, so I mean, if they do it, it sounds like this could be like the best Assassin's Creed thing. I mean, just seems
it
like
sounds like they have a really good model to making video game adaptations into anime. Currently.
Well, that's where I was going. It's like it seems like there's maybe a market here, because I know Castlevania did pretty well. They already renewed it, so maybe there's a market here to continue to do these. And Metroid, I think, would be great. Like I can think of a ton of series that I'd love to see them do.
It's an interesting tidbit. This Castlevania series has been in development for like 10 years. Like Warren Ellis basically wrote the rough draft for this series like 10 years ago, and then they just didn't do anything with it until now.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I
Yeah.
feel like he's a fairly known author in certain spaces, so if he couldn't even get it off the ground, like
yeah, despite me taking it to task on a couple things, I've seen a lot of positive sentiment out there for it. So people are liking it.
I mean, Surreal, you got some fan fiction rough drafts that you
Yeah.
can send to Netflix.
I
right?
mean, it's mostly like Animal Crossing, really dark fiction,
Hey, you
just
know what?
like
I'd read
that
that.
world. I think would be fleshed out. But
Who dies?
Who
dies in your fan fiction?
everybody.
They all die.
just Tom Nook
Tom,
swinging from a
Tom
tree.
Nook just murders everybody.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
awesome.
Who bangs who?
I mean,
oh boy,
there's
whoa.
just
Well, we might have to move
Yeah.
on.
Oh, cross this family show.
Yeah, so that's Castlevania on Netflix. Watch it if you dare, I guess.
Yeah,
Ooh.
I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you couldn't tell, it's a bit of a slow week. That's why we've been talking about Pokemon and Netflix shows, but we definitely do want to talk about a few games. And JV, sounds like you've been playing something that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's Black the Fall, which sounds like a terrible high school band you would put together, but it's actually a video game. It's one of the Square Enix indie collective games.
Okay.
They launched that program about 2 years ago, and they've been putting out indie stuff.
To be fair, a lot of video game titles sound like shitty.
No,
high school
absolutely.
bands
But
you
this
put
one is
together.
like its own tier.
But
I
this
feel
one,
it.
Black the Fall, I mean, you could have come up with something that at least makes
It's just,
sense.
it feels like random words they selected.
Right, yeah. Those porpoises just throwing balls around.
Right.
Yeah.
Does it fit the game? Like, tell us about it.
It's the game. It's basically, man, I don't like calling things clones.
Well, then
But-
don't.
But no, but this feels like, it straight up feels like an imitation of Inside. Like even beyond like,
Ooh boy.
yeah, it falls into that genre of like Limbo and Inside and
Little
even-
Nightmares.
Little Nightmares, and even before then, like Abe's Odyssey,
Okay.
that sort of thing, where like you are a character moving on a 2D screen. Well, this is 2.5D, and you have to like solve puzzles or it's instant death, and then you do a respawn to like try and make your way out of this nightmarish sci-fi factory, and then you meet like a little dog. Robot dog that can help you solve puzzles too, and it's basically like it is Inside.
Well, I've got you.
Yeah.
I've got you right now. You just said it was like Inside, but you don't meet a little robot dog that helps you solve puzzles.
Oh, good.
So
No.
there.
Oh,
Hey,
okay.
Good job.
But-
man.
Revoke his credentials. Get him
Wow.
out of
Yeah.
here.
Really got him.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Well, so
It's like the reason I say it feels like Inside isn't just because it falls into this sort of like weird little genre of quirky platformer puzzler. It feels like an imitation of Inside because you're in a factory and you're solving things, and there's like no storytelling with the words, and there are things that want to kill you, and they kill you a lot because you don't know how to do the puzzles, because A, the game doesn't necessarily give you enough information, B, the mechanics for these puzzles are super janky and often physics based, C, you're an idiot likely, at least in my
you're
case.
talking about yourself.
Yeah. But it's basically, if you played Inside, if you played Little Nightmares, if you played what's the other one, Limbo, that sort of game, and you want more of it, and you want a version of those things that aren't quite as good, but it doesn't matter because you want a hit of whatever that drug is. Like Black the Fall's your jam. Like it's like a janky version of those games, and there are moments that are cool. There are moments that are cool about it. Like especially like it's gorgeous. Like it's a gorgeous game to look at. But it's puzzles are really frustrating. Like there's one, for example, where you come across an area that has like steam pipes, but it's completely in darkness.
Okay.
And you have to actually put on headphones. Like you could theoretically do it with a stereo, but like it's like directional stuff, and you have to like make your way through it, and it's about timing, and it's super ridiculous, and it's not worth the effort. Like you don't feel smart after beating it because immediately you understand what you have to do. It's just a matter of trial and error, and I hate that.
That stuff's hard too for like because certain players aren't as in tune to, audio.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I'm one of those players. Like the audio puzzles in The Witness were really challenging for me because I have trouble distinguishing high and low sounds. So it just sounds like when you design a game and like, well, only people who can do this one thing, or only people who are like really attuned to like pressing buttons really fast can play through the sequence. Like I feel like it kind of breaks or limits your audience, which is kind of a shame.
No, and absolutely, and it's also not just even that. Like conceptually, I agree. Like there are issues with that, but like the ones that seem fine on paper, there's still like jankiness about them. Like for example, there's one bit that's physics based with a raft in the middle of a lake that you and your dog have to jump on at the same time to like push yourself across the lake. But the physics in this game are so janky that like a lot of the time you just do it and the raft doesn't make it there. Like you just like don't get close enough to make the jump. So you have to do it over and over and over again until like the raft gets there. And there's no like magical play. There is no like magical formula that's immediately clear. Like you immediately understand this is what I have to do. I understand that I have to jump on the raft with my dog to get like the correct trajectory and this and that. But it's just all up to chance, and that's super frustrating. Like that's not a good puzzle. I am a firm believer in if your player comes to a puzzle and can understand how to beat it immediately, but the true trial is like performing that puzzle, like just like jumping through the various hoops to make that to complete that puzzle. That's not a good puzzle. I don't think it's a good puzzle.
Yeah. It doesn't sound fun. So do you understand what Black the Fall is even referring to at this
No.
point? Does the title make sense?
No, it does not. There's no storytelling that's like with words or anything. It's like Inside. You're just running through all this sort of surreal dystopian nightmare sort of stuff. So nothing yet.
And you finished it, right? Like you've played the entire thing? Or?
Not yet. Like I have like 10 minutes
Okay,
left.
so maybe at the
But
end
like
or
at this point, like it's just
We just couldn't wait.
Maybe
to
they
get
just
this
give
on
you a
the podcast.
Catherine style debrief at the end. Well, this is what everything in the game meant.
just couldn't
yeah.
wait.
But like even at this point, like I feel pretty firm in how I feel about like the actual like just playing through the game. Like it's fun to look at, but it's kind of a chore. Like
So-
it feels like a chore.
With Inside, like I definitely couldn't tell you like exact beats like what everybody was thinking like in the story, but like there definitely is a thematic story.
Oh, absolutely.
happening Inside, and which I think is really good. And I like the way they present that. So Black the Fall, do you pick up on anything like in terms of like what the world's like or what's
Yeah,
happening?
I
in
mean,
the
yeah,
world?
absolutely. But it doesn't, and there is like a journey of escape. Like it's the same, like you're trying to make your way out of here, and like you see like people in the distance because again the game's gorgeous and there are huge sort of vistas that you see, and it's sort of decayed, and there are like disheveled people starving and abusers and like giant mechs roaming the place, just blowing. So you get a sense that this is a place, like,
Sure.
but it also feels like comprised of tropes in a way that Inside didn't. Like Inside had tropes, you know, they had sort of Orwellian things going on, but they always felt interesting. This game doesn't pull that off. Yeah.
Did you ever play The Cave?
Yeah, that was the Double Fine game, right? Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's exactly like Inside or anything, but it kind of reminds me of like if you're in the mood for a 2D, I don't know, puzzly, platformy type game. I guess I would point people towards that.
Yeah,
I
The
think
Cave's fun.
The Cave was kind of a fun game, and it was like it's
super
silly.
funny. It's
So-
super dark. It's basically like Grimm's fairy tale sort of stuff.
Yeah,
I dug it.
Dark
Yeah.
humor though,
Yeah.
so it's not like dark like Inside Dark.
Oh no. Just it's just dark humor.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know. Like just talking like if you want an alternative to if you want more Inside or something like that vein, check out The Cave.
Yeah.
Maybe there's other games to play, or you could just play
Black the Fall.
Black the Fall.
I mean, based on JV's assessment of it here, I'm picking up 2 copies.
yeah. Or maybe you
Yeah.
could watch Castlevania twice instead.
I could.
Or
also-
you
play
could
one
watch
while
it
watching
while
the other.
play it.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right.
Yeah. That's
JV,
double fisting. Yeah.
Thanks for being on the podcast. Have a good one. Why don't you fist bump your way out of here?
All right. Let's do this again.
Oh my gosh, the number one Juber.
Every time I fist bump, it just happens. I'm
yeah,
tired.
Serial, you're still here, but
it's a magical world today.
we got Joe.
That's me.
Joe
I'm
on
here.
the mic.
Hey.
Joe, we called you down here with our unholy ritual to talk about Final Fantasy 12,
Oh
the
yeah,
remaster. It just came out.
gotcha.
And you
I mean,
played it.
I act surprised. I know why I'm
What?
here. Yeah.
Yeah, as if we were going to talk to you about anything else, because I would never want to talk to you about anything.
Right. Final Fantasy 12, the Zodiac Age came out this week.
Yeah. So what's the deal? I played Final Fantasy 12 back when it came out, like 10 years ago, right? I
Yeah,
feel
in
like it was
2006 on PS2.
right around when I actually first started at the job. And everybody was pretty excited about the game. Like, I thought the judges looked really cool, actually. People were comparing the judges to, like, Darth Vader in terms of how cool they were, which I'm like, what? This seems insane. But
Yeah.
they are pretty cool. I
Judge
think they're-
Gabranth is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the general setup for the game? And should people be excited to replay it if they've already played it?
Yeah, absolutely. So what the Zodiac Age is like on the surface, you might think it's just a remaster with it's got like better, visuals, better performance and that kind of stuff. It's got your sort of standard remastered suite of things in that regard. But what makes it more interesting especially for fans who want to go back and replay it, or for people who maybe some elements of it didn't click that first time through, is that they've made a couple of really important enhancements for it. There's a lot of smaller things that I don't want to just like bullet point down.
Sure.
But what I think the biggest things to touch on here are the job system, which before was just one giant license board, they called it, which, without getting into too many specifics about it, the old version of it made it very difficult for you to sort of plan the progression of your characters, and it could result in characters being very similar unless you as a player made a very deliberate effort to differentiate them.
Sure.
So the way the Zodiac Age fixes that is by implementing a job system that was actually in a previous version of the game that never made it to North America, like an international re-release.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So, but they've made enhancements beyond even that. So the bottom line is that instead of every character working off of the same one giant license board, you select jobs for them. And these jobs have individually tailored skills and things that you unlock. So you're really doing more to assign character specific roles in combat,
Okay.
which makes them feel more dynamic and gives you more incentive to switch certain characters in and out. So you're not just working with like a 3-person team the whole game.
So I was a big fan of the job system in Final Fantasy Tactics, which is where I think I first encountered that concept. Do you compare it to that? Is it that level of job system?
I mean, it's so much more just about the old version of the license board, just with the abilities that you unlock being more deliberately tailored to give you a certain set of like buffs, skills, things like that.
If you want to play the Black Mage, like this is where the job board is for that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, but you assign characters a job and then they're stuck with it the whole game.
Oh,
so there's no
switching.
like swapping back
Okay.
and forth. But what's different in this version versus the previously unreleased in North America one is that in the old version, each character got one job of 12. So that meant that on one playthrough, you got to see 6 of 12 possible jobs. Now, characters can basically hold 2 jobs simultaneously, which throws off the balance in some significant ways. I remember Final Fantasy 12 as being actually a little more on the harder end of the spectrum of this series, and it's not like that anymore, really.
So you're earning experience in both jobs at the same time? Is that how that works?
Yeah, I mean, you're basically earning license points that that a character can use to unlock tiles on either of the job boards.
And if you spread yourself across 2 job boards, you're not diminishing yourself. Like you could take all those and put them into one job board?
I mean,
or
you
am
could do
misunderstanding
that. You don't want to do that though, because this is one of the things that makes this game so much more interesting is the way like certain, like, let's say that there's a job that has a very powerful, like fire-based spell, but it doesn't really have any gear. Like that job latently doesn't have any gear that boosts fire damage. So that powerful spell, though it's good, is a little bit like, oh, it's not as good as it could be. But if you pair that with a job that does have the ability to unlock like gear that boosts your fire damage or something, then suddenly that synergy can create some really interesting, I mean, across multiple jobs. Or there are multiple combinations that just have some really good sort of synergistic qualities that
skills that they wouldn't have access to normally because you have 2 jobs just make them even more powerful.
Sure. Okay.
So that's the very long-winded explanation of the first thing that makes that's a real big improvement.
Okay. Yeah.
for this
What
game.
else? So what else?
The second big improvement is, it sounds like a little thing, but there's a fast forward option.
Okay. Like during dialogue, during the boring Final Fantasy dialogue.
During exploration and combat.
Okay.
So when this game came out in 2006, one of the most surprising things about it, I think, was the way that it was basically a single player MMO, or structured like that. You and your party are going through these huge zones and going from one zone to another one, that sometimes it could be, you basically I found myself grinding a fair bit and sort of wandering around these sort of expansive areas without a lot of clear direction. With the fast forward option, you're still doing that a little bit, but it's just it's happening so much faster that it doesn't feel like such a chore.
Yeah. I think Final Fantasy VII, when we talked about that for our game club, that has a final fast forward option as well.
Yeah.
I found myself using that a lot. I really like that. I think more games should have that.
Yeah. But in fact, in Final Fantasy VII, I think the difference is that got really hard to navigate. When you were exploring the world, it was hard to navigate when you were sped up because you were moving so fast. And in this one, they strike a good balance of moving really quick, but just because of the way the world works, you can move around in fast mode.
Yeah.
And still,
you don't have trouble overshooting an entrance that you're trying to get in.
Right. So Suri and I were talking on Twitter about this the other day. And I think one of the big takeaways for this game is if you tried playing Final Fantasy XII before, it really should you play the Zodiac Age? And it boils down to the things specifically that bothered you about Final Fantasy XII before. If you didn't like the story, if you didn't like the characters, those things are the same. The content of the game is basically the same. For me, the stuff that held me back, and the stuff that I think would not age as well with that game re-released today, are the things that they addressed with the job system being just more straightforward and interesting, and the world to me felt a little bloated before, and it's just easier to navigate and less grindy now.
Sure.
So if those were the problems you had with it before,
yeah, I think my chief concerns was I had to do a lot of grinding, and the combat system was fine, but it felt like everything kind of took too long. You'd face a boss, and then you'd fight it for you'd have already figured out how to beat it, and it having your plans go into motion just took longer than it used to. And you said the combat's a little faster as well, right?
Yeah. I mean, the fast forward mode works in combat also, and because so much of combat, you do have direct input in it if you want to, but if you're playing the game right and really digging the gambit system, most of combat's going to be automated for you. You're watching it more than you're directing it.
Right. And so the other thing that part of it was just I faced the boss and, I died and had to, reload my save from an hour earlier. That's partly on me for not saving, but you also said that there's an autosave.
Yep.
Right?
And so there's an autosave system in the new version also to make it less punishing in that regard too.
That's interesting. It's not like autosave was a new thing 10 years ago. It's interesting they didn't have that in the default version.
Yeah, but for RPGs, it kind of was. Yeah, that, because think of that era with games like Xenosaga, right? I guess that was that's more than the 15 years ago. But Xenosaga Episode 1 had you would often have to go an hour and then have a boss fight with no save points between, and that for a lot of people that tension added to the experience, and it was very frustrating for me.
I played Nier Automata recently. You can't save in that game for the first 40 minutes until you fight the first boss. And so my first time through, I died at that boss, of course, because apparently I'm terrible. But I was very frustrated because I'm well, surely there was an autosave or something. It's I started it back up, and I'm nope, just have to start from the beginning. So it was a nice reminder of autosaves. Apparently that game doesn't even have autosaves. Automata, but oh well.
So anyway, that's the bottom line. I've talked about Zodiac Age on the podcast before when I played a preview build. Sure.
But the review's out.
The review's out. I gave it a 9. I do not think that this is a game that's just for the crowd of, if you loved it before, play it again. I think that Square Enix made some great moves to make this game, move it more towards accessibility than it was before, especially since there's so much about FF12 that's just so strange.
Sure.
Within the context of the Final Fantasy series.
Like Vaughn's dumb costume.
Yeah, exactly.
Super strange.
Yeah.
Did they change that?
No, that's still there.
More
Or
upright.
that part
Oh.
where he's running around the town saying like, I don't remember what his name was. But
Oh,
he was looking for someone. He's running around town.
Yeah, no, that's still there.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. But I mean, so much about it, I think when it came out was not what people expected from Final Fantasy, but I think it's easier to go back to now, sort of knowing what you're getting into, and
Yeah, and maybe it doesn't seem so strange given 13, 15, even
Right,
the
right.
14 to some degree. Like those have strayed, whereas 12 felt much more like a change of pace for the series back when it first came out.
Yeah, and for this one, it's not as drastic of an overhaul as Odin Sphere Life Thrasier from last year, which was like a remake that had
Right.
like total system overhauls. It's not quite that drastic, but it's closer to that than just a straight up like the graphics are better remaster.
Sure.
And I just think it does a good job of giving old fans something new to appreciate, and while at the same time making it, enjoyable for people who haven't seen what FF12 has to offer.
Tack, did you ever play Final Fantasy 12?
Oh yeah,
Big fan?
I thought it was the herald of dark times to come for the franchise. Obviously,
fan.
I'm really glad that this remake is great. I am glad to hear that. It does sound like they fixed some of the issues I have with the game, which is that it felt like a soulless single-player MMO. Because who wants a single-player MMO? It was mind-numbingly boring and just sludge of going through zone to zone, watching my guys heal automatically as they dip below 30%, as I struggled not to fall asleep as I went
Well,
from
now you
fight
can
to
fast
fight.
forward.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Get to sleep faster.
as you can tell, I have lots of fond memories of that game. But again, I'm glad to hear that the remake apparently addresses some of those issues. So that is good to hear.
But
Think
again,
you'll check out the remaster?
No,
yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
fair
again, it doesn't address everything. If you just had a deep, abiding hatred of Final Fantasy 12 because of what it was at its core, like this isn't a new game. It's still Final Fantasy 12. So it's not for everyone, but I really liked going back to
Well,
it.
there you have it. Check out the full review. It's on the site.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guys, we've reached the point where we've run out of things to talk about. So maybe
Oh.
we should turn to the reader email bag and see what's in there.
That's always
Sound
good stuff
good?
in
You guys
there.
want to stick around for that?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. And welcome back. We're reached the point of our program where we're going to go through some emails. And these are all emails that I pulled from our reader email bag, which is Game Informer. Oh, sorry, I screwed it up already. It's podcast at GameInformer.com.
there you go.
You're blowing it.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
Don't send it to
Worst-
GameInformer
worst
at
host ever.
GameInformer.com.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, please email us. Send us questions, send us comments, try to dare us to do something even. I don't know.
Oh boy.
Podcast at GameInformer.com. We're going to read through these. We're going to note which one is our favorite, and we're going to send that person something real nice. So.
You just opened a door that we can't.
I mean, if
close
you
now.
dare us, we are legally obligated
It's
to
true.
follow
It's the law.
through.
It's the law in Minnesota, actually.
That's right.
Not
It
a lot of
double
people know that.
double dare us is even worse.
One of the hardest things to get used to.
All right. You guys ready?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Let's
Here we
do it.
go. I got an email here from Felix from Paris. Of all
Okay.
places. I assume. Well, Paris, Texas, probably, right? Anyway,
That's
he
the famous
says,
one.
Yeah.
he says, "Hey, Ben." Still works.
Yeah.
It does.
I'm glad we got another bend
We
up.
don't
got
need that
there.
other guy. What is the most unusual sound each of you can do with their mouth? He says, I've heard people perfectly imitate seagulls or sea lions, doing throaty gurgles like the most evil bidet.
Uh-huh.
Maybe he is French.
Definitely.
Some producing sounds that no one can even describe. I'm reminded of the clicker sound effect from The Last of Us, which would not have existed without the aptitude from one of the voice actresses.
I was wondering
So-
where the video game connection at
There's
all
the
was
video
with this
game
question.
connection.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Do you guys have any like weird sound effects that you're proud of? I know my brother can do a Chewbacca, which is pretty convincing.
I can do a weird one.
Yeah?
I've wondered if I've even done it on the show before. I feel like I've done it somewhere. Okay, now the pressure's on. I can do this
Yes.
weird sort of like
Joe, I dare you to make this sound.
Oh, great.
Yep.
We're in it now.
Write it up.
Okay,
So
here
much
we go.
paperwork.
Here we go. I hope the mic will pick it up.
What?
Whoa.
No
Was that from your
way.
mouth?
Yeah,
Oh, that was super weird.
That was
Yeah.
that.
All right.
Wow, that
I can
wins.
I can do that weird noise, and normally I can actually do a little burp right after it immediately too. It's kind of gross.
And that's how you met your wife.
Yeah, exactly. See, yeah, we were at a weird mouth noise convention,
Yeah, that's right.
and I don't even want to tell you what she
Now you
does.
make weird mouth
Yeah.
noises together. It's perfect. That's really weird.
Yeah, I can't do anything on that level at all. No.
Serial attack? Anybody?
No.
Nothing to
Well,
match
well,
that.
all right,
I
well.
can do the Tim Allen sound.
Do
Hey,
it.
then that's something.
Yeah,
Go for it.
See,
pretty good.
That is good.
That is pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Tag, you got to have something.
Not to my recollection.
Okay.
I'm trying to. I'm digging real deep. If something comes up,
All
I'm
right.
trying to remember something. I don't do voices.
Keep digging. I
don't
don't
know.
know. Yeah, I don't do voices either. I'm not like that.
Wait, yeah.
Ben is not known for his comedic prowess at all.
You got to do one.
Or impersonation.
I don't know if I have any weird noises though. Like weird noises are.
That's a good one.
There you go.
All right.
Just dug that one up around.
That certainly was alarming.
All right. Mike from Tall Timbers, Maryland. He says, "Hello, Ben and the GI crew. What do your personal video game collections look like? Do you guys have any prized possessions that you'll keep forever?"
Let me tell you what my collection looks like. It's approximately 3 to 4 CDs, and everything else digital. So,
Well, what are the CDs?
like Bloodborne.
Okay. So it's all new stuff. Like you don't keep any old
I
things?
don't. I liquidated all of my old PC games
You melted them
a
down.
few years ago. That actually depresses me. But
You
there's just
drank
no,
them all.
There's just no room for them, man.
Sure.
Like I had boxes and boxes of old CDs and their cases. It was very depressing to get rid of.
Well, why'd you do it then?
Just the PC stuff. To be fair, I still have my NES, my SNES, and all those old carts.
Okay.
Those are being preserved for
So
history.
nothing super good in there?
Those preserved for you're going to donate them to
Those will be they will be buried with me. I will be buried with Secret of Mana.
Oh, so when you say preserved for history, you mean hoarding like a pharaoh?
I mean,
until
10 years from now, the
they
history
are
of
buried
Anzac
with
is going
me.
to matter.
Okay.
Indeed.
Okay.
But as far as like anything past that era, like anything past SNES, I've saved none of it.
Wow. Okay.
It's kind of scary.
I used to have one of my favorite games of all time, I think I've talked about before, is Panzer Dragoon Saga.
Mhm.
I've had 2 copies over the years. The first copy I bought actually from Toys R Us for like $50 when it first came out, and I was loaning it to a friend. It was like, he was like, hey, do you want to borrow this game and I'll borrow Panzer Dragoon? I thought we were loaning them to each other,
Yeah.
and I learned like a month later that he thought we were trading them. And then he had taken my copy of Panzer Dragoon to a pawn shop. So it's like,
Oh,
This is a very
disappointing.
strange tale.
And just for the record, like that game is worth like $500 or something now. So,
Yes.
Oh, nice.
And then years later, I bought it again for like $100 because the price was just shooting up, and then that copy was stolen from me. So I no longer have my prized collection of Panzer Dragoon copies is out there.
have you considered
We're gonna have to
stealing
find
it
you
from
one.
someone else?
That's a good point. Yeah, I could. Does anybody here have Panzer Dragoon? Just off the. Just curious.
I actually bought one from a pawn shop several years ago.
There you go.
Oh, perfect.
Ben, I dare you to steal Suriel's copy.
Double dog, dude.
If you can find it, it's always on me.
Serial Joe, you have any?
I mean, I have a really bad history with consoles just because I always end up. So, like my NES, we lost when we moved here from Mexico. We just didn't bring it with us. And then my Super Nintendo, my mom actually sold out from under us at a garage sale without us knowing.
You always
it
have
was
to keep
it
an
was
eye
the
on
Super
that.
Nintendo with every game for $20.
That's the dirtiest parent trick.
What?
They all do
Yeah.
that too. You got to be really careful.
Any like rare finds in there? Like, what was the best game? you had?
Oh, I don't know. Probably like I don't think I had anything rare. It's like Mega Man 7, Link to the Past, things like that.
Okay.
I think it's funny how, for me, like I don't actually have a lot. I have a few Super Nintendo cartridges, like from the actual game collection that I'm still hanging on to. Final Fantasy 3, Mega Man X, F-Zero, some of the ones. But like for me, part of that is because like in those days you didn't have achievements or trophies or anything, so the cartridge itself for me sort of served as that accomplishment and the save file on it, where it's
Right.
like, hey, here's my copy of Final Fantasy 3 on Super Nintendo, and it has like a save file with 99 hours and 59 minutes on it, and who knows how much
Sure.
time beyond that, like,
Although the battery's probably dead now, so
yeah, probably. We should test that out someday.
that'd be interesting to bring it in, like
could
bring
bring
in
mine
our
in.
oldest games and see
Yeah.
if they still work.
Yeah. So like for some of those old games, I just sort of keep them. I mean, it's more sentimental value than anything. So
Sure.
yeah, the kind of stuff that I have that I like, I think even more than the games themselves, are like I have some collectibles and things like that I like. I have like an Andrew Ryan from BioShock statue that
Oh.
like we got from Irrational Games when the game first came out. So
Yeah,
that's,
yeah.
that's cool.
This isn't game related, or it is game related, I should say. It's not a game. But yeah, I met the creator of Earthworm Jim at an E3 one year, and he was just like willing to do a sketch for me. So he sketched out Earthworm Jim, and I have a little sketch of Earthworm Jim up on my desk. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I remember I have really fond memories of playing Earthworm Jim with me and my brother back in the day. So
Yeah.
very special little thing.
Another one, I actually auctioned this off during Extra Life last year, but I had a little cedar box for drinking like sake out of from the opening of Kojima Productions' Los Angeles studio.
What a weird thing.
Yeah.
That's a weird thing.
Yeah. I mean, it was like the opening. It's like, so they had this big, I guess it's sort of like it's like a Japanese ceremony of like to commemorate the beginning of the business or whatever.
Sure.
So it's like all the journalists and everyone who was there sort of got one of these little boxes that I was hanging on to.
Did you
but
drink
it's,
sake out of it ever?
I did.
Really?
Yep. Yeah, I mean,
All
at that opening, at that ceremony, I did. Yep.
All right.
but
Now
then-
you're a sake fiend.
Now someone else has it.
Rocky Sake Jojuba. All right. Mike from Maine. He says, when I play more laid-back games that revolve around characters interacting and item collection, the one thing I absolutely require is a jump button. So this is his opinion.
Okay, gotta draw the line somewhere.
Sure. Even if it has no bearing on the action, jumping around aimlessly helps me think and allows me to feel more in control over the main character. So his question is, what part of gaming, however small, do you love and feel that adds to the experience overall? Do you guys have anything like that where you're like, man, I just really love doing this thing in games and I wish all games had this?
I'm getting more hung up on the idea of like the need for a jump button. It's like, how much of your daily life, what percentage of your daily life do you spend jumping?
I get it. He's using it sort of as a
almost
fidget.
fidget.
Right.
I think it's like
right.
a fidget spinner thing.
That's
It's
exactly
like
right.
I just need to do this while I'm playing. It makes me feel relaxed.
It makes me more attentive.
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, I don't necessarily find that too weird. Like, it's not because I have a need to do it, but I like it like when you can sort of fidget around in those ways. Like Infamous, I had a thing where it's like if you spam the R2 button, I think the one he uses to suck powers from the lines, it can make it look like he's dancing, basically. Stuff like that where you can spam a certain button
Okay.
and do like weird moves. Like I always find those to be really fun, but I don't know that every game needs it. Like
You're a
I
big fan of dancing, right?
yeah, I like dancing a lot. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, this is, I mean,
You just gave me a weird gross face.
Trying to imagine you
Oh.
dancing.
Oh boy.
this isn't
Well, I mean,
quite
it's
like
like-
jumping, but just as something that I think every game needs to have. It's like, let me remap controls.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. That's a
like
good one.
I
Yeah.
see no reason why, like, sure, developers should create a default control scheme and really steer people towards that control scheme, but like there is no reason not to let people customize that the way they want to. Like, just like for me, just for my personal preference, but then like just in terms of accessibility also, like there are people who, like who cannot play games the way that a default control scheme is set up, and like you should let them set that up the way they want to.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Amen to that.
The only thing I can think of is running, like default running. Like I wish all games let you just run. I know a lot of games let you run, but sometimes you have to hold down a button to run.
Okay.
And I'd rather it just be defaulted, you're running. And then
But
if
if
I
we do
want to
that-
walk, I hold down a button. Because I feel like
If we do
most
that,
of the
then we
time,
need to sprint, and then we need super speed. 'cause
Super
it's gonna
speed.
It's going to keep going.
that's
Like,
right.
the
I just
trend
want to
will
run
never
as
end.
fast as Samus does when she has
Right.
like super speed module.
I actually think maybe being able to pause cutscenes and subtitles, I think, are two that I always kind of like. Most games have them, but when they don't, I always feel like
Yeah.
Pause
should.
cutscenes and skip cutscenes.
Yeah.
Like that needs to be standard also.
Yeah.
because I always feel like whenever I'm watching it's always hard to test too, because you
Right.
you never know if you're pressing like the options button or the start button when you're watching a cutscene will skip it immediately,
Yeah.
or if it's just gonna pause it.
You're shaking your head, Dan. You don't. This
No.
is not,
I mean, recently I've had some experience with cutscenes. Ones that say, "Hello, do you currently have 30 minutes available? Otherwise, you may want to wait because this cutscene will take you 30 minutes."
Wait, it has a warning.
Final
before
Fantasy
the cutscene?
14, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow.
It's a real story beats
Those
going on in
cutscenes
that.
have warnings?
Yeah, because they want to let you know you're going to set aside some time for this next big chapter.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right.
That is both a good and a bad thing, just because like okay, I can put this off for a little bit, but also the
It's
idea
gotta let
that
you know. You gotta
they need
be
to
in- you're
warn
in.
you about their cutscenes.
You're in
is a
for
little-
it. It's a very
Yeah.
helpful warning.
Yeah.
Moving on. Caleb from Dayton, Ohio. He says, I was listening last week to the podcast, and one of the community emails asked what game should get the Square Enix touch. I believe it was Joe Juba, number one Duba, is that right? who mentioned the Count of Monte Cristo as a public domain.
That's an
And-
interesting one.
And he was like, this got me thinking about games as media. Do you think that we will ever see a day when video games become public domain and a new publisher will do a title based on that original source?
Ever is a very long time. So yes. I mean, you said ever. right?
Right. Yeah.
Are
Well,
we
this-
going to live to see it? Probably not, but it
this-
will happen.
This is a fascinating topic to me, and I like public domain just in general. And I kind of looked it up just for. This is what the internet says about public domain.
This is your
we're not-
Wikipedia research.
We're not public
Yeah.
domain experts, but
Okay.
in general, works published after 1977 do not fall into public domain until 70 years after the death of the author. Or for corporate works, anonymous works or works for hire 95 years from the date of publication or 120 years from the date of creation, whichever comes first.
So yeah,
That's kind of a recap. So considering video games aren't quite that old, we have a ways to go before we'll see any public domain video games,
Yeah.
but theoretically it's going to happen.
yeah.
Isn't there a thing where Disney keeps extending that? Like that is one of their biggest fights, is continually
Right.
extending the public domain so they can hold the rights. To
Well,
all
that's
this
what
stuff.
fascinates me is what Mickey Mouse
Yeah.
is super close to that date. And then even behind him, characters like Batman and Superman aren't too far behind. So it's like within our lifetime, are those characters going to become public domain? Like that would be weird.
That would be very weird.
So I
We'll
don't
see-
know.
we'll see
It
what the
kind of
lobbyists come up
fascinates
with.
me.
Yeah, because that's got to roll into weird like IP law sort of things
Yeah.
too. And if an owner is continually engaging and like keeping it going,
Right.
like did they have their rights just sort of taken from them at that point? Like
I almost imagine like that even if that were the case, I feel like we live in a culture where it would be very weird to have like, okay, well now here's, Arby's' take on Superman, and they're going to make their own Superman series, and
It's
like,
just a
you-
matter of time before
like,
they get
only
into
a matter
game
of time.
publishing.
Exactly.
You know it. Yeah.
Arby's is just putting out, here's our Superman sandwich.
Yeah, like
Watch
I mean,
it fly into your mouth.
they are going to be the super corporation of the the next
In the
century.
future. Not
Yeah,
Taco
exactly.
Bell, yeah.
No, not Taco Bell. It's going to be Arby's.
But
They're
yeah,
very lit, is what I've heard on social media.
Oh, okay.
public domain games. You guys think of any that you're like, oh, well, clearly this should be the case.
Clearly, your eyes are going to fall on Nintendo Classics, right? For the
I
first
think
batch.
yeah, Mario would be a go-to. Like, of course, people will. He's just such an icon. Like, why wouldn't they make a Mario game if they could?
Yeah.
right?
Also, China doesn't seem to care. They just
Some of
they'll
those
make
some of
games
those
out
old
whatever.
Sega IPs that I would love to see back and given some due, like Shining Force, Shining in the Darkness, stuff like that.
That is an interesting example of just like all
Fantasy
the
Star.
all the franchises from long ago that people are like, oh, they should make a new one. The company's like, no, we're not gonna.
Yeah,
Just
that's a good point.
In the
an
future,
avenue of like,
they
here's
could, yeah.
100 years from now, where are we gonna see
This is
a
great.
new Earthbound game, new Mother 3 finally
Dude.
for the West?
I can get my new Fantasy Star. I just have to wait,
Yeah.
70 years? All right.
Yeah.
Let's
All
start the clock.
Well, 95.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just interesting to think about, and thanks for joining me on this journey.
Let's start the clock.
Yeah, no,
But I did think I was like, oh, well, technically there are public domain games like Sherlock Holmes is in video games, and he's
Sure,
a
yeah.
public domain character. So it's just kind of
But
interesting.
he
like,
came from a
right.
different
He didn't
media.
come from video games. All right, moving on.
Okay.
I have a guy named Austin from Austin, Texas.
Wow,
That's
this is
no
awesome.
joke.
He already wins.
Austin.
He says, been listening to y'all back when Helgeson was running the podcast, and I've been watching replay since Bushido Blade. So, little
Long
aside
time
there.
listener, first time caller.
Anyway, yeah, he says, aside from Dan Tack, who's too cool to have a backlog, what games do y'all play over the summer during the drought?
That is specifically what he
Drought.
said. I am too cool for that.
A drought.
There was a time, Tack, I think I remember this conversation where you said you don't have a backlog.
That's
Is that
true.
correct?
That's true. And I certainly don't have a drought either.
Right.
I wish I had time to even.
I feel like
is
in
it on the
previous
record that
years-
you are too cool?
No, it's not too
Okay.
cool. I gave my reasons why I just don't think a backlog is. Okay, I don't want
We
to
don't
sound
have to
like a
go
jerk.
into that
yeah.
again,
Well,
but-
very, very broadly, I think you should always be playing the game that makes you the happiest or having the most fun with at any given time.
So what's that game for you? For now, right?
For right now, my fun game is PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Big
Okay.
time.
What about you guys? You guys have any games that you're looking forward to?
Yeah,
Going back to?
I feel like in previous years it used to be called a drought. And I think now it's more of a reprieve, just because there were so many games out in the first half of the year, and
Yeah.
there are still games coming out, but more games where you can be like, I can maybe put this off instead of like, if I don't play this now, I'm never gonna play it. But for me right now, I'm working through Yakuza 0, and I want to get through Nier Automata before the end of the year. Besides that, I think I'll probably try to find a bunch of the indie stuff that I haven't been able to get to, just 'cause, like they can be short, bite-sized games I can get in between sort of major releases. But I think those are my two. Otherwise, I'll probably just end up playing more Dota 2.
That old classic.
Yeah.
Joe,
Yeah.
anything for you?
Well, yeah. So like I had a pretty crazy beginning of the year. as far as my review schedule goes. I had Nier Automata and then Persona 5 and then Mass Effect. So there was some stuff in that time frame that just sort of got, pushed
Right.
out. So I finally got around. I finished Zelda. Now I just like last weekend picked up Horizon Zero Dawn. So I'm going to get rolling on that one. But assuming I can get through that, I'm so obsessive in those kinds of games that I don't think that's going to be a fast playthrough for me at all.
Sure.
But I think next on my list after that is going to be Prey.
So it's interesting because I feel like a lot of you guys are still listing games that are released this year. Do you guys ever go back further, like 2, 3, 5 years? Like, what else have I missed maybe from last generation? Do you guys ever do that?
I did just get. I went and visited my parents a little while ago, and I was able to get a 60 gigabyte old PS3, the one that can play PS2 games. So I actually found my copy of that of Killer 7, and I'm probably gonna play through it sometime this year.
I thought you'd already played that.
No, I'm gonna play through it again.
Oh, okay.
See, for me, there's always stuff that I want to get to. Like I didn't play Dishonored 2 last year.
Sure.
And I still want to, but I think part of just and this sounds like super whiny, but like part of the nature of what we do as part of this job is like I want to be sure that I'm well prepared for like end of the year discussions when it comes time to like debate what games are going to make our like top 50, what games are the best action games, RPGs and stuff of the year. Like I feel like if I have sort of free gaming time, I generally lean towards doing stuff that's this year just because like that, that has a more direct and current benefit than just like, hey, I wonder how Dishonored 2 was.
Yeah, that's good reasoning.
Like I still want to play Hitman, like everything past the first. I reviewed the first chapter freelance, but I'd never, really got to play the rest of it. And like people have been saying such good things about it that I feel kind of tempted to dive in. But like Joe said, there's really, unless I'm doing it, for fun, which is crazy. Video games aren't for fun, but like there's no reason to do it over anything coming out this year.
Yeah, I will say when sequels roll around, that's a good time to like dive back and remind myself like, oh yeah, I never played that game. Like Wolfenstein, what's the new one? The new Colossus, which got shown at E3, and I was like, oh, that looks cool. Reminded me I'd never played the New Order, so I went back after E3 and have just recently finished that game.
JV will keep reminding
fun.
you. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, also JV will nonstop talk about games that I might not care about. But anyway,
if I do go back and play something old, it's usually not last year. It's like replaying a PS1 RPG or something like that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I was thinking about that too with the SNES Classic coming out. I haven't played Earthbound. It's been
That's all
on
right.
my
No one
list.
here is going to be able to get one, so don't worry about that.
Well, I might not be able to, but I was thinking like if I get one, like I'm going to make that my project. I'm like going to sit down and finally play through that one.
Yeah.
So. All right. Flavio from Toronto, Canada.
That's a
Has he
name.
written it before?
No, I never heard that name.
Okay.
You're making fun of people's names, Mr. Tack.
Did I make
You know what?
fun of it?
Tack?
No.
I don't know. Were you looking at my sheet? Because there is an L
just
there.
curious.
Flavio.
I just was curious. That's not making fun.
Is
I'm
he
sure
your
his
brother?
question's
Is that what
nice.
you're saying that?
Flavio Tech, yeah.
Yeah, he's a lesser known.
Oh, lesser. Okay.
Flavio from the lesser known Tack.
I guess so.
The lesser known Tack brother. Okay, first of all, thanks for making this my favorite gaming podcast.
Oh,
Good job, guys.
He's talking to Ben Hansen.
yeah.
I don't
That's
know.
true.
My question is simple. When do you think the next generation of consoles will start? My guess is that the PlayStation 5 will be available by the end of 2018 with the sequence for Bloodborne and The Last of Us at launch. That would be a hard blow against Microsoft's Xbox X, in my opinion.
It would be, but I don't think it's going to happen.
He says, P.S. I'm Dan Tech's brother. Lesser known Tech.
Oh, I don't know.
What do you guys think of that? I pulled this just because, like, I think it's a little bit generous.
So
I think the
2018
timeline.
2018 is way too early.
2018 is yeah.
I'd say 2020.
If even. I mean, like, I think one thing we're seeing with PS4 Pro and with Xbox One X, when it was announced as Scorpio, Microsoft was definitely using language around that to sort of imply that maybe just the days of hard console generations aren't, like, maybe that's not where they're going anymore.
I think we're still getting that with, at least from Sony, and I think that'll be 2019 at the earliest. 18 is way too soon.
Right. Well, we have had this interesting thing where like every 5 years we'll have a console life cycle, and that was a thing for a long time. But then the last console generation,
The
lasted
0.5.
well past that.
Yeah.
Well, just the 360 PS3 era lasted for a good 8-9 years. So I kind of wonder if we're in that phase because we're 4 years in around there. So this might have been the time where we used to hear what the new consoles were, but we could only be halfway through the console cycle if console
I don't
cycles
think-
are even still a thing.
Yeah, I mean, technology changes. So, like, this is not an area where I think you can point to, like, well, they've done it this way in the past, so that's how it's going to go in the future. I mean, I think that that digital entertainment is such a sort of like fluid target in so many ways that, you know, you just sort of have to see where things are at currently. Because another aspect of it, I think, is like, you start to talk about new console generations when developers start to feel like constrained by the current generation, right? And I feel like with the PS4 Pro and Xbox One X, those are clear moves on those
Publishers.
Microsoft and Sony,
Like Arby's.
Yeah.
and Arby's.
Publishers, yeah.
It's clear moves on their part to sort of like extend, like to give developers a little more elbow room without necessarily. I don't know. I feel like this generation is now finally really in its stride, and it would feel super premature to like start looking ahead rather than really just sort of taking advantage of where we're at now.
Yeah, I agree. I think games are really coming out like this year, last year, like we've hit its stride. Like I want to see where we're going with this, and I don't think I feel a need to move on to a new piece of hardware yet.
Do you guys feel like maybe that instead of sort of going into like very, very definable generations, that instead we'll just sort of have sort of like softer generations? Like, you know how at some point, you know, games are compatible with these versions of iOS and you can play it on your much older one, but it's going to run so poorly that you may as well not bother. Do you think that at some point that's just going to be, here's the Xbox, you know, One X, 2 or whatever, and that runs all the Xbox games, but the new Xbox games coming out don't run really well at all on an Xbox One, but you can still technically launch them, but people just realize, okay, well, I need to upgrade at this point.
In theory, I can see that happening, but that's a long way off. I still think we get another pure console generation at least. I think from a branding standpoint alone, that it is inevitable that we will see another console generation, just not 2018.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think we have one more definable generation left. But at the same, like, I guess sort of to Suriel's point, I wonder if we're at the phase, just given how well the backwards compatibility thing's been working for Microsoft. Like, I wonder if we're at the point where it's just let's say the Xbox games you buy will just work on whatever new iteration of the Xbox console, right? I mean, like, that's again part of what they were talking about with Scorpio / Xbox One X is that like it's one platform that doesn't leave anyone behind.
It's kind of like how phones work theoretically, right?
Yeah.
Problem is, like, there comes a point where it's like, well, my phone doesn't run the new stuff. Like, I don't know. It's helpful to have that clean break. I think for some people, is like, okay, well, I'm going to upgrade to the new one. What's the new one called? I think consoles work a little bit different than phones. I mean,
Sure.
obviously, we're not businessmen, but
Not yet.
maybe we will.
Speak
be
for
someday.
yourself,
Yeah,
Reed.
Tax halfway there. With his jacket.
yeah. All right. Interesting discussion. I think definitely a few years probably before we see any.
Yeah. I don't
Talk
think
on new
2018, I
consoles for
think
sure,
is
right?
No
Yeah.
way.
Maybe in
And also-
2018 we'll start to hear the rumors.
There's also something about that, and not to, I mean, I don't want to make anyone feel bad for writing in. I'm glad they do, but there's something that just feels a little too fantastical or about like, okay, so Sony 2018 is going to really nail a blow to Microsoft by putting out brand new amazing hardware
Bloodborne.
and new Bloodborne and Last of Us and, you know, like,
Right.
like it sounds more like a fantasy scenario than anything that's like plausible.
I do think it's plausible that we'll get another Bloodborne.
Oh,
Right,
we will.
right,
But
but
in
not-
terms of like the new console, yeah.
Right.
We better get a new Bloodborne.
All right, moving on. Zach Youngblood. He says, as games journalists, I'm sure you hear a lot of rumors. What is the most ridiculous rumor that you couldn't believe people were spreading as true? And what is a rumor that you heard that turned out to be false, but something that you thought would have been amazing for a game or game console? Anything come to mind? Just off the top of your head? I'm thinking of, I think it was just last year.
As game
There was
journalists,
that
you know,
Zelda Netflix show that was
Oh
rumored to
yeah,
be coming
yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Remember that.
When I remember when that came out, I'm like, there's no way this is true. and it wasn't. Turns out, but I did kind of was like, it'd be cool if it was though. Like especially just in light of the Castlevania.
They
talk
gave
we
us
had,
Castlevania
like,
stuff.
Yeah, they gave us Castlevania. Like I watch a Zelda Netflix show. That could be kind of
Sure.
cool.
I could not believe that the Xbox 360 was the name of the Xbox 360.
Sure.
I remember when that rumor was flying around and just being like, nope, that's ridiculous. Ta-da!
Or
And
when
here
they
it
they
is.
kept calling it the Xbox Next.
Oh yeah. Well, it turns
That
out that
was-
wasn't true.
Yeah, that wasn't true either. Yeah.
I remember the rumors of Nintendo's Wii. Sorry, the Wii. Well, it was about the Wii, but like their remote controlled, like motion sensing controls. I was like,
Mhm.
this sounds stupid. Like, of course they're not going to do that. And then turns
And
out
they
it was
didn't.
the Wii.
Sounds
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah. For me, like there are also several of them that have to do just with like games that are like rumors like, oh, I want to believe this so much, even though it never really pans
Yeah.
out. You know, things like there was a while when there was a rumor I remember about the possibility of there being sort of like an expanded Metal Gear Solid 5. You know,
Oh,
sort of
yeah.
like
With the real ending or whatnot.
there were rumors of an expanded version of Metal Gear Solid 5 that had like, you know, the chapter that was supposedly missing being restored and,
Yeah.
and some stuff like that. So I was really hoping that would be true. There's always the rumor of Bayonetta 3 happening that, you know, I'm still keeping my fingers crossed, but who knows?
Dantak, last year at E3, you had me all but convinced that they were going to announce a new Chrono Trigger.
I don't comment on rumors and speculation.
Well, you definitely commented to me about this one.
I have plenty of rumors and speculation.
Okay.
I just don't comment on those.
All right. Well, that didn't happen. We got that I Am Setsuna game.
It was
though.
obviously I Am Setsuna was the one that
Right.
was being
Yeah.
relayed to me that I was.
Hey, Dan, what about that Bloodborne 2 reveal at E3 this year?
Well, hey, for one thing, I didn't put a whole bunch of stock in that rumor. I knew it was certainly a possibility. I wasn't like it's gonna happen. And
Yeah, you were.
I felt it was a strong choice, but it wasn't because I heard a rumor or anything.
Okay.
I just felt it was a strong contender for something that would be there.
Okay.
Any rumors you guys want to start right now? Just to
Overwatch
Keep
2.
people talking
is
about
gonna
it.
come
Oh,
out
can we
next
please
year.
stop this?
Needs a 5G
into next
model.
year, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think Andrew Reiner
Same
has
same time as the PlayStation 5. Just going to give Microsoft a good lockout blow.
Yeah.
Very
Wow.
good. All right, they're gonna make a Mario XCOM game. I think.
See, that would have been hilarious because if you would have said that
Reed.
last year, nobody,
If
everyone
I
would
had
have thought
said that
you
a
were crazy.
month ago, people
Yeah.
would have thought I was crazy.
Yeah.
All right, William Dantak. How are you gonna say this last name? Albanese.
Albanese.
Sure. William Albanese. He says, I recently bought Stardew Valley on Steam sale
Woo!
and quit.
What?
Hold on. I quit
Oh,
about
Joe.
10 minutes in.
I hate blueberries.
Yeah, I like this guy.
He said he had to introduce himself to like 28 villagers. I could already tell that this game wasn't for me. How long do you guys give a game before deciding whether or not to continue playing it?
We often don't have that luxury.
Well,
Uh,
if
you're talking about
obviously
purely-
not for reviews.
Yeah.
For
Okay.
reviews, we have to play through it. But if you're just playing a game for fun, how long do you guys?
It
give
depends on the type of game, but I'd say in general I give it an hour
Okay.
just to really make sure. If I don't like it after an hour, like it usually won't matter how good it gets, like it's because it's gonna suck.
Yeah, I don't know. Like for the really long games, like RPGs.
That it can take 3 or 4 hours to even get rolling. So like I said, sometimes genre matters.
Yeah, for those sorts of things, I usually will give them like 4 or 5 hours to get their hooks in me. With sort of after that, like a probationary 10-hour period to see if like is this something I'm like gonna really stick through and see to the end.
Yeah, it really depends on the
Um,
game. Like, because you said RPGs, like Persona 5, which I'm playing through right now. I'm like
Mhm.
15 hours in,
Mhm.
and I feel like I'm just starting to
You are.
understand what the game's about. So if I
Yeah.
quit in like 10 minutes or an hour, that wouldn't give me. Sometimes it's all about mood too. I remember playing through Bulletstorm, and I played a good like 45 minutes to an hour, and I'm like, I don't
Mhm.
know if I like this game. Put it away, came back in like 2 months, and I'm like, oh, this game's actually pretty fun. So I had a lot of fun with that game because I was in the right mood for it.
So I think it does depend on the game a lot. I think we've established that. But at the same time, like some games right away, right? Like
So I'll say, William, you should go back to Stardew Valley. I think Joe will back me up. Like, I think that game's great. I think it took me probably 30 minutes or so to finally get the hooks in. You got to get the loop. You got to plant some plants.
the
Yeah.
community center at Stardew Valley.
The community
Number
center,
5.
That'll
Yeah.
take you like 30 hours.
Well, no, I mean that for Stardew Valley specifically, I think, but I can understand someone not liking that game. But I think if you want to know if that game's for you, you need to, get far enough into it that you sort of get a sense of what your daily routine is. Like when
Right.
you get into town and you're being introduced to villagers, like Like you're not doing that every day. What you're doing every day is like going
Farming.
Like yeah, I mean, you're
Mining.
watering your crops, going talking to people, hopping in the mine, getting some gifts, that sort of thing. If you don't like that, that's fine. But like that's really what you're doing in the game more than just like going and talking to people.
I'm like particularly terrible about not doing that. Of just like I always feel like if I start a game, I feel compelled to finish it. So like last year, I played through all of Quantum Break, and I wanted to stop playing after about 2 hours.
And why didn't you?
Because
Just
like
hate
I always
playing it?
feel like if I'm gonna tell someone that I stopped playing it, I feel compelled to like give them the whole picture by like saying like I know for a fact that this game is bad because I finished it. Like
I mean-
I don't have like half evidence or anything. So, but it does lead to a lot of games that I play that I'm just like I wasted my time.
From
Did
a,
you watch all
from
the
a
shows?
review standpoint, I completely agree. But if you're playing it for personal times, it's
Yeah.
like I think I make a stronger statement by saying like, yeah, I did not even play that for an hour. It's bad.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that does it for me.
Yeah, I have that problem, but with books. Like I have no problem putting a game down when I start it, but like for some reason I feel like if I get 50 pages into a book, then I just feel like, well, I'm committed, I'm locked into it no matter what. It's harder for me to put those down. But yeah, for games, for some reason I feel a lot more comfortable just being like,
I think games take a lot. Well, I guess books kind of take a long time sometimes, but like books, there's definitely more of a commitment rather than like a bad movie. If you're like halfway through a bad movie, you're like, well,
yeah, I almost
what's another half
Yeah.
hour?
Yeah, I don't think I ever quit movies either.
I think there's only been like one time I walked out of a film. Yeah, I stay for even awful ones,
Yeah.
like just the worst.
Like Paul Blart, Mall Cop.
That one was on a plane, and I actually fell asleep in the 3/4 in. That was 2.
Oh,
I
that's a
stayed
new
awake for the
wrinkle
first
in
one.
this story. That now you're changing your story.
All right,
and you
interesting.
haven't even
All
seen
right.
Paul Blart the whole.
No, I
way
have seen it.
because
I have seen Paul Blart and Paul Blart 2.
He
These-
went
these are
back and
things that
watched the
happen.
rest of it.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Oh my god, I'm not ashamed of it. They were plain films, okay? They were
What-
plain movies.
What's the movie you walked out of?
You know what? I wish I could remember. It was a movie. It was an animated film about farm animals. I don't recall the name. It was the only one I've ever walked out of.
Hey,
Over the,
Was it Chicken Run?
It was Chicken Run bad?
No, it was awesome.
Like this one was
but
really
I mean,
bad.
you watched Paul Blart Mall Cop, so I don't know.
Dan, you know what movies I watched on planes?
What did you-
like Civil War.
Yeah, but
Force
I already seen
Awakens.
that.
So would I. Like
The problem
that's
is
what the plane's for.
problem-
You can watch good movies.
when I get
that
on a
you've already
plane,
seen.
I'm like, I've seen that. I'm like, yep, I have not seen that. Let's do this.
All right. Well,
we all
that
have
concludes
our,
our email section. Feel free to write in more if you just want to hate on Dan Tack's movie opinions or whatnot, or dare him to watch a good movie.
Wait, I didn't say I liked Paul Blart. I hate Paul Blart.
Dan Tack, this section's over.
Okay.
So yeah, what do you guys think? Do you have a favorite email?
I think the public domain one's probably my favorite one.
That was an interesting one.
Well, we didn't know anything about that one.
It's
I
still
think
a
it's
good
an
question.
important question. I think it's an interesting question to raise either way.
What were the other ones?
What was Flavio's?
Oh, your
I
brother?
I want to hook Flavio up.
That's is that a conflict of interest? I don't know. That feels like nepotism.
really
He
my
was
brother.
talking about the new console
sure?
generations.
We talked a lot about the new console generations.
yeah,
Yeah.
Ben, give us a quick rundown. What were the
Well,
subjects?
I also kind of like the public domain one, but there was the one. Do you like jumping in games?
No. We're not doing that one.
Fidgety things. Mouth sounds is pretty good.
What's
just
your
'cause of the
personal
Joe
gaming
answer.
collection? Your mouth noises.
Yeah.
We learned something about Joe in that one.
I feel like it's a hard extreme. I'm either mouth noises or public domain.
What's
I
the
mean-
most ridiculous rumor? That was kind of a fun one.
yeah.
okay.
Joe?
Well, it seems like everyone wants the public domain one, so we can.
Well,
we
you're
can
not
do
presenting
that.
a
Yeah, you
better
gotta-
option.
Give us an option.
I was having trouble remembering the conversation.
All right, Caleb for Dayton, Ohio. We'll send you something real nice in the mail.
Sure.
You'll
Won't be
know it-
copyrighted,
You'll
though.
know it when you see it. Please stick around. The show's not quite over. We have one more
Whoa.
section, and we're going to be running through the rest of the games for 2017. We have a full list of all the games coming out. We're going to run through them and talk about what's exciting and what you should be excited for the rest of the year. So stay tuned for that. And we're back. Thanks for tuning into the Game Informer podcast. I'm Ben Reeves. We've shooken up the cast a little bit. We still got Joe.
yeah.
Can't get rid of him. We got Matt Burtz.
How
How's
you
it going?
doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
And JV Gwaltney.
Hey again.
Hey, you're back.
I know.
We tried to keep you away, but
Yeah,
just
I
couldn't.
mean,
I don't know
Ben
how to
does
lock
all the
that
time.
door, yeah. Anyway, I invited you guys all here because we're going to talk about games, right? That's what we do here.
I've heard of that.
We do.
Specifically, we want to talk about the release calendar for the rest of the year.
Okay.
You guys excited about this year?
Yeah.
I feel like I feel like we said this last year too, but I feel like last year was pretty front loaded. This year felt kind of front loaded. So I was looking forward to probably my most anticipated games were like earlier this year,
Mm-hmm.
and so I feel like we passed that. But there's still a few good things, a few
It's
great
sequel
things.
season, right?
Yeah, coming out. So we want to talk about what's to look forward to the rest of the year. So I think to start, maybe we can just go around like, what's the one game you guys are looking forward to the most?
Okay.
Maybe want to kick us off, Joe?
Yeah, so my personal most anticipated for the rest of the year is actually the Metroid on 3DS.
Oh, nice.
I know there are lots of people out there who are excited for like Mario on
Sure.
Switch or Splatoon's coming out, but for me that's the one. I mean, I've been asking for a new Metroid game, like traditional Metroid, for so long. Like, and a couple years ago when Axiom Verge came out, which is basically sort of that genre expanded again, like that was my favorite game of that year. It's just I
It's a really,
really love that style of game, so I'm really looking forward to checking it out.
Are you disappointed it's a remake?
Not really. So like I actually have not gotten all the way through Metroid 2 before.
Okay.
So for me, I see it more of like an opportunity to finally get through that. I do have that the Metroid fan remake, Metroid 2 fan remake
Sure.
that I played a little bit of, but just kind of fell off. But
Okay.
Was it you just weren't interested in it at the time, like the remake itself?
I was interested. It actually falls more into the kind of thing that we were talking about in the email segment, where it was like I could either play this fan game that like I played for a few hours and enjoyed, but there was something else that was like more pressing at the time in
Sure.
terms of like, I should play this so I can weigh in on a holiday discussion or something. And I
Yeah.
just never got around back
Yeah.
to it. So
Yeah, that's a good point because I'm a huge Metroid fan as well, and I think kind of the reverse of you is where I'm looking forward to this game. I've wanted a new 2D Metroid for a long time,
Mhm.
but because I have played the original, it's based on I'm slightly less interested, and then also because I played the remake recently,
yeah.
I'm like that diminishes my enthusiasm just a little bit more. So it's cool that there are people out there who haven't played those, and like this is definitely going to be a good game, I'm sure.
yeah. So that's my number one.
Burt's, what about you?
I don't have a number one per se, but I am excited about the quality of the shooters that it looks like are coming out this holiday. We always get the Call of Duties, but going back to World War II, I think that's going to revitalize that franchise a little bit.
Sure.
Wolfenstein looks pretty damn good for single player, focused single shooter, and the Destiny's there. That's not really my bag, but I'm curious to jump in and see. Has that game evolved in a way that I will appreciate, or is it just more hamster wheel loot fetching?
Yeah. And Battlefront 2 is this year too, right?
Yep, and Battlefront 2 as well. So, yeah, it's a busy shooter year.
Yeah, Battlefront 2 especially looks really good. I know Ryder's really excited about it. I think I never got into Battlefront 1 or the one that just released 2 years ago because it was so multiplayer focused, and I'm more of a single player guy. So I'm glad that there's going to be a single player, and then I'll probably dabble in the multiplayer, but man, those games always looked really gorgeous. Like they're some of the best looking shooters out there.
Yeah. I really hope they do sort of like a Titanfall 2 sort of thing with that, where like the single player isn't just like competent. It's really good.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's a lot of what people were concerned about with Titanfall 2 was like, okay, here's going to be sort of this like 6-hour long tutorial with, just some action set pieces, but it's really well put together. So I'm kind of hoping that's the case with Battlefront.
Those guys are the kings of campaigns. They always have been. It was more of a disappointment that Titanfall 1 didn't have one due to, time and budget constraints.
Right. No, I just remember there being a lot of talk when it was coming out, and they had single player. When it was revealed they had single player, people being like, oh, well, I hope, it's good. I hope that it's not just, I'm not here for single player. I'm here for multiplayer. But in my mind, like that stands out from that game. Like that's the best part of it.
Yeah.
And I hope Battlefront's kind of the same way.
JV, do you have a number one game?
Wolfenstein. Like,
We could have telegraphed that one.
Yeah, like.
I mean, how many times have you played Wolfenstein?
21.
At this point? New Order, 21 times?
Yeah, 21 times.
Wow.
What is it about that particular version of Wolfenstein or that brand of shooter that you like so much?
I mean, I think it is the best version of the sort of Starbreeze narrative shooter that they didn't create that idea of like a narrative shooter, but it is definitely, they have the most distinct version of it for me. Like the Darkness and Butcher Bay, which isn't necessarily a shooter, but there are shootery bits. Just sort of, they take time, they give their characters room to grow, and they focus on things, because usually action video games are about plot, 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 plot. We're going from A to B to C, so on and so forth, and it's just really an occasion to shoot things. But the New Order takes time to like actually present characters and allow them to grow. Like there are several scenes where you're in your hideout and you're just talking with people. You're talking about like, sex, and you're talking about race and philosophy and like, is there a soul, so on and so forth. And it's nice. It's not a perfect shooter. Like I have a lot of issues with the New Order. Like there are some levels that are just really bad and that are there for padding. But the shooting's fun. It's really meaty, and I just love those characters. I love going back again and again and like finding new things. Like it's my comfort game.
Sure.
Yeah.
Did you play New Colossus at E3?
No, he
Oh
was
no, I
here.
didn't go.
He was on the
Oh,
home
that's
team.
right.
Oh,
You were in there.
Yeah.
He had to
I'm
live
surprised you didn't
vicariously through me.
Yeah.
Jump on a plane
Bert,
as soon as it was announced and show up. To
Bert
play.
was texting me like right after he got out, and I had to hold back from like sending very mean messages back. Yeah.
Bert should have just said, like, it's not that great. You're not missing much.
No, like
Don't beat
no, it was
yourself up,
worse.
but-
Like he texted me, he said, "It's really good." It's like, but yeah, I'm excited for it. I think it looks very strange. It looks like they're almost doing like a Last of Us kind of road trip through America, which I'd be interested to see how that pans out. Like that looks super ambitious, and that kind of makes me nervous because the New Order works because it's ambitious in a unique sort of way, because lots of games get ambitious. That means that it's open world now, or it's bigger now. And the New Order works because it's so tightly constrained. Like it is corridors. There are open areas, but it's basically a series of corridors, and you're shooting Nazis. They're
it was a
well-designed
refinement of a
corridor.
well-established, early '90s first-person shooter kind of design.
And the Old Blood kind of did open up with like arena sort of areas, so that might work for Wolfenstein 2. But I'm very optimistic, but also concerned about let's not go like super big, because that just usually doesn't work for me.
Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah.
How about you, Ben?
I'll go. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't usually consider myself a Nintendo fanboy, but maybe this year I am. Like I went nuts for Zelda, and I
Same.
think the game I'm looking forward to most now is Mario, the Mario Odyssey. I think that game looks really good. I was already on board when they first showed it back in January, but like at E3, like I think my enthusiasm shot up a couple notches. I like the hat mechanic, the hat capture, the fact that you can like jump into like a dinosaur and ride a dinosaur around just looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I got to play it for like a good 40 minutes, and controls feel really good. Feels like a Mario game. The levels are just full of like interesting little things to find, and feels like that classic Mario 64, Mario Sunshine kind of feel, which I'm happy to have, because it feels like it's been a while since we've had something like that.
Yeah, this is the first Mario I actively want to play since like Mario 64. Like I've played the other ones, not
Even
to
the
complete-
Galaxy games? You
Yeah, I wasn't too into them, but
Interesting.
like just how psychedelic and strange this one looks. Like I want to play it real bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm definitely excited for it. And then also we get like 2 Mario games, because that Mario and Rabbids game, which is also kind of up there on my list of like, I'm hopeful it'll be really good. I mean, it could fall on its face a little bit, but like it just looks like a weird mix of like what I like of light, colorful Mario fun, but then also like some XCOM-y combat strategy. So it's like a weird blend of things, but it's right up my alley.
Yeah, I'm in the same camp of being unexpectedly excited for that game, just because it is such a strange blending of things. Like, and it looks really good too. Like
Yeah.
I think that's the best looking Switch game outside of Zelda.
Really
from
good
what I've seen.
animation stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's cool to
Pretty.
like watch my characters run up and like they can jump off of each other, and you watch them like push each other off with their feet. It's really fluid animations.
Yeah, but I'm hyped for that. I like the idea of like having Mario XCOM on my Switch everywhere.
Yeah.
Like it's just, I love XCOM.
Cool. Well, on the other side of things, like kind of games that maybe you're looking forward to, but you're not sure if they're going to like pan out, or maybe kind of like dark horse candidate. I think we kind of talked about like, what are some games you think are going to come out and you're hopeful that they'll do well, but it could go either way, honestly.
Yeah, for me, the big one on that front is Assassin's Creed Origins.
Mm.
I mean, like I got to play like an hour of that at E3, and it's like I don't want it to sound like I'm coming off like super skeptical about it, because like I more or less enjoyed what I spent with it, but like it seems like such a drastic departure for Assassin's Creed that like normally I feel like if they had stuck closer to the old formula, I could have played an hour of Assassin's Creed and then been like, yep, I know what this is going to be. I can like appropriately set my hype meter and like know what to expect. And like, this is one of those cases where they're changing so much that an hour with the game, I don't feel like is enough for me to really be able to like have a great idea of what exactly I'm in for and how some of these systems are going to like pan out in this sort of new vision for the game, right?
Right.
So I guess that's where it falls into me is like I'm a big fan of that series. I hope it turns out really well. But and maybe this is a good thing, but this is the first time in years that I've been a little like that I'm not totally sure what to expect from Assassin's Creed.
It's kind of weird. Yeah, I'm worried I'm not going to like the protagonist by it.
Mm-hmm.
That's my first concern. My second concern is the combat. I was able to like, there's arena fighting in the game, kind of classic Roman style, where they throw you in with like all these obstacles and traps while you fight all these dudes. And I was able to like steer bosses right into the traps. That was what I did the whole time. I was like, I hope that gets fixed.
Ooh, I mean, that sounds like typical Assassin's Creed AI. It's like,
Maybe.
yeah.
But it's always been more based on counters. Like you got to wait for them to swing at you. And this, I was just steering the guy by walking backwards.
Mm-hmm.
It felt different enough. In general, the combat that I don't know if I'm going to like it or not. I'm certainly open-minded about it.
Yeah, I mean, the combat in the game seems like it's gotten a little more just like traditional third-person action, whereas it used to be a very like combat in Assassin's Creed was very distinctly Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, it was counter-based.
Yeah, and it seems like maybe it sacrificed some of that. On the other hand, like I'm interested to see how the whole like leveling mechanic thing works with it, because like heaven knows I love some good like RPG hooks in a game and like progression. So like that kind of stuff is interesting to me. But at the same time, that also means that you can't do the like one-shot assassinations if the person is just like a higher level than you. And I don't know if I like that. So there's just this, a lot remains to be seen with that game for me, but I am optimistic.
Yeah, it's funny as this game has evolved how little it is like an assassination game now. Like it used to be about plotting how you're going to attack a dude, making the kill, getting the hell out of there because like people are coming after you, and over the course of time you've got guns and like all these other weapons, and it's more just like it's an action game now.
Yeah, it's really strange because I do love this. I'm also kind of concerned about not being able to like one hit kill a guy if you're like careful, because that's so much of the fun of the earlier Assassin's Creeds was just getting that kill and doing it silently and getting away with it. But I do think they've actually become more interesting to me as they've evolved. Like the pirate one, Black Flag is easily my favorite, and I love like the Gangs of New York but London game that is Assassin's Creed Syndicate. That is just such a weird Assassin's Creed game.
I went back to Syndicate actually. I just played it for like, how it is where it's sometimes it's like, okay, I'm not in the mood to start something new, but so I'm just gonna like dive into something old for a little while, for like 20 minutes while I before I go have dinner or something. I did that with Syndicate just like last week, I think, and so much came flooding back to me. It's like I think Syndicate is like my second favorite Assassin's Creed game behind Brotherhood. It is.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, same for me actually. Except Black Flag's my number one. Yeah. But that's why I'm willing to like be like, okay, I'll give this a shot, even if like just that idea of not being able to do the one hit assassination is abhorrent to me. Like it's like, no, those two other games weren't really assassiny, but they're my favorite ones. So let's give this a shot.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Birds, JB, do you guys have anything that you look forward to? Could be
one I'm really curious about Dark Horse wise is how is PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds going to do on console? If the quality bar is just high enough when it hits game preview later this year, like I could see that taking up a lot of people's time on Xbox, because we're in a year where there's not a lot of exclusives coming. Like the AAA sequel is basically what you're looking at in the calendar.
I saw a lot of friends who were playing Overwatch actually, so it's like it'd be interesting to see if that kind of like knocks them off. Like friends who it's like they just have their one shooter that they play all the time. I think Battlegrounds could be that game that maybe kind of like dethrones Overwatch.
It already has so much momentum behind it too. Like if it were just releasing cold on consoles, I think that would be a different story. But like it's become such a talking point in the last like month or two that.
Man, it's fascinating too. I finally got to play it like 2 days ago. Who here has played it? Have you guys actually?
I've played around on stream.
Yeah. It's such like a strange game because like, you drop into the battle zone. And so I landed in the field in my first match, ran up to a house, had an AK on me that I just picked up off the ground. And there was this man inside on the staircase screaming at me over his mic, we can trade. Don't shoot. We can work together. And of course, like, because the dude's screaming at me, I shot him through the eyeball and he like slumped on the stairs. But it was like a very Cormac McCarthy display of violence where I was like, shit, Like it's like that bit in the True Grit remake where Rooster shoots that guy in the face and it was like, well, that didn't pan out. Like it was straight up that scene.
We can trade.
This isn't squads.
Yeah.
Sorry, buddy.
But I can definitely see that game having an appeal because it's so emergent storytelling focused. Like there are just like stories that happen all over the place, and I can see like the hooks getting in deep, especially on console if it can run. Well
Yeah,
on
it needs that
console.
quality of life level of polish. I mean, it doesn't need to be perfect. It's in game preview, but I feel like console players are a little less
They're less
accepting
forgiving.
of jankiness.
Mhm.
Yeah, it is an interesting thing I don't think I've thought of, but you're probably right. I think PC crowd, they're used to like messing around with mods and all that
Yeah.
stuff. So I don't think they care as much. I mean, they care. I shouldn't say they don't care how the games run, but I think they're willing to put up with it when
Yeah.
console gamers aren't. But yeah. JV, anything for you?
I'm really curious about Call of Duty actually because I wasn't, and I understand they're all different studios, but I really did not like Black Ops 3. I was okay on Infinite Warfare, and I'm excited about the prospect of going back to World War II because I did love the original Call of Duty when it came out. Like I spent so many hours playing that, and I do love Advanced Warfare, that's the studio that's doing this one.
Yeah,
like
Sledgehammer.
I think Advanced Warfare is actually probably my favorite of the modern Call of Duties outside of Modern Warfare, like the post Modern Warfare ones. But I haven't seen enough. Like Call of Duty is one of those things where like you can see it in action, but like you have to play it. Like you just have to play it to see how it feels, and I haven't played it yet, and so I'm curious about that one. I'm also curious to see how Tacoma pans out because I've played about 15 minutes of that, and it seems promising, and like I enjoyed Gone Home. I love Gone Home. And I love sort of the alien vibe that Tacoma gives off. Not that there's a giant space monster walking around, but like the
They
opening.
could be. They've changed the
They
game a lot.
could
I
be.
heard, but
But, like the opening of Alien where everyone's waking up out of the pods and going about their routine. Like Tacoma so far feels like that opening sequence from Alien, and I really dig that. So I'm interested to see how that pans out.
yeah, I think for me, one that I'm kind of on the fence about, but I hope pans out is Crackdown 3. It's supposed to come out in November. I was a big fan of the first Crackdown. This is one of those games where you're like, oh, I feel like a superhero because I can jump across buildings like the Hulk and pick up cars, and I just love that progression of like slowly leveling up my dude. But I feel like that's been like 10 years or something, right? Since the first one.
Yeah.
I feel like games have progressed quite a lot, and I feel like that old system, if they follow that perfectly, like that's not going to be enough. They're going to need to do some new things, and I haven't seen enough of the game yet to totally prove that they've done much.
What if it's just Terry Crews like virtual reality Terry Crews screaming?
I mean,
For
I'm
an
all
hour.
for that, but
I saw it. I saw the demo of it at E3, and it seems like they have some. Well, first of all, it seems like they recognize where Crackdown 2 went wrong, and or at least
That wasn't hard to recognize. Let's be honest. Here.
I know, but at least I think they realized without throwing Crackdown 2 under the bus, they did specifically reference like, hey, this is a brand new city. It's not the same thing again. But it seems, I guess I have the same question that you do, Ben, about it, in that like a lot of what they're doing is kind of going back to a structure that was there in Crackdown 1. And I'm curious to see what they do to like build on that and make it feel a little more modern.
Yeah, my main concern about Crackdown 3 is playing Crackdown 3 in a post Saints Row 4 world. Like, how do you top that? Like, I adore that game, and they have basically the same kind of power up structure, including getting the orbs and stuff. Like, how do you beat that?
Yeah. In fact, you weren't working here when Saints Row 4 came out, but like we had that discussion, which is like Saints Row 4 is the next Crackdown game.
Yeah. Like it straight up feels like the best version of Crackdown.
Yeah. It's not the Saints Row game that I wanted, but it was the Crackdown game that I wanted.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you got one or the other. So
Yeah.
what's Agents of Mayhem going to be?
I'm curious about that one
Yeah.
too.
Is that
Who
this
knows?
year? I don't think it is.
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
it's
It
in
is.
August,
Yeah,
right?
it's like next month.
Oh my gosh. Well, we'll see about
Yeah, they're
that.
trying to sneak it in before the fall glut.
Yeah, talk about dark horses. But yeah, it was interesting because I pulled up the list of all the games that are coming out. I'm like, there's a lot of good games out here. And we talk about like the summer doldrums, but like there's kind of like that, I think you guys said Impact Crater last week in terms of like post E3, and I think we're in that. But that's going to dry up here pretty soon because Splatoon comes out on the 21st.
Mm-hmm.
And then Fortnite, the paid early access, starts on the 25th. You guys, anybody here excited for Fortnite?
Yeah, I wrote our preview content for Fortnite, and I'm I'm curious about it. I'm not sold on it yet because there's just so much. Like you can't. It's honestly one of those games that feels like you have to play 30 or 40 hours of it to be able to go like, okay, this is how all these systems like work together, and like, do they work together well, so on and so forth. It's just an odd combination of like Gears of War shooting meets Borderlands loot, and then Minecraft resource harvesting and crafting. Like, how does that gumbo taste good? You know. And I don't know. I don't know. Like I haven't eaten enough of it, I guess. Like what?
He needs to get a bite with a shrimp in there.
Yeah.
Get some grits.
X5
Yeah,
has
exactly.
some andouille
Hey,
in it.
don't bring grits into this.
Smothered covered.
Ooh.
Well, if you keep looking past into August, we already talked about Tacoma, which I think looks promising. Also, Hellblade is another kind of like one of those games. Is like this could slip in under the radar. It could be really good. We put it on our cover a couple months ago, so like what I saw like looked promising, but it kind of could still go either way. So hopefully we'll see. I think the big game in August is probably Uncharted: The Lost Legacy.
Yep.
Looks like more Uncharted 4, but that's not bad.
I mean,
right?
yeah, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Also, those two characters are rad.
Yeah, and that was something I put something online during E3 about this, which is like I thought it was really weird. So much of the feedback that I heard from like other people at E3 around The Lost Legacy was like, more Uncharted. It's like Uncharted 4 was I loved that game.
Right.
And getting more of that is not like, I guess it's not sexy in terms of like this is brand new and cool at E3, but like I am really looking forward to Lost Legacy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was my game of the year last year, and
Yeah.
like I should be more excited about it. For some reason, I'm not, but I'm sure once it comes out, I'll play it and love it.
Yeah, it was very strange to see that sort of thing not happen with The Last of Us too. Like when they announced Left Behind, people were all like, "Yeah, give us more of that." But to see it, people be skeptical, and I don't love Uncharted. Like that's not my jam. I appreciate it. I love how gorgeous it looks, and yeah, I didn't mind for it. I enjoyed it, but even with that in mind, to see people have that reaction, fans of the game go, meh.
Well, I know
That's kinda
why.
weird.
Narratively, it's supposed to be done, right? Like at the end of Uncharted 4, that's wrapped up the Nathan Drake story. And
Sure.
here they're trotting, after they said they were going to kind of leave it at that, they're trotting out secondary characters to create a secondary, kind of spin-off programming. And like, I don't think spin-offs ever, like Better Call Saul is really good, but it's nowhere near where Breaking Bad is, right? Like it's tough to generate a ton of enthusiasm when you're a spin-off.
But the secondary character is more interesting than the primary character. So I'm just saying.
I don't know.
Is
about
Chloe the more interesting character?
No,
though?
both
I
of
don't
them are.
know. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
interesting.
I just don't like Nathan that much.
It's an interesting
Like, I don't-
gumbo they've
Yeah.
piled, right?
So another August game that I am really curious about and I hope turns out well is Life is Strange.
Oh yeah, I was going to
Yeah.
talk about that. So why are you excited about that one?
So like I was super late to the party on the original Life is Strange. Like I didn't play any of that when it was coming out episodically. I think I played that at like the very end of the year.
You played it the best
it
way to
came
play
out.
it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So because like I played it when it was all just one finished game. Like all the episodes had been out and I loved it. And I think from talking to people who played it episodically, I think part of the frustration about the original version of that game was just like, or the episodic release was that when there's a down chapter, like chapter 2, there's that section where you're hunting for bottles in the dump.
Yeah. It's
And-
easy to walk away right then.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because like you see the end of the episode in front of you and you're on a downswing and then it's just like, well, I don't need to do that anymore. Whereas like when you know that you still have the whole game just in front of you waiting to be played, it's a lot easier to like power through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess in that sense, I'm glad that the new one is just, so it's the first episode that comes out at the end of August.
Of 3, right?
Of
So much
3.
shorter.
And they've said that they're aiming for the same sort of schedule that they had on the last
Yeah.
one, which is I think they were about 2 months apart, except one that was like 3 months apart. But
Oh really? I almost thought they were closer together than that even.
no, it was 2 months.
Okay.
So, but with only 3 episodes, hopefully that sort of keeps it, I don't know, compact and easier to sort of get through like that. But
Yeah, this is the one without powers, right?
yeah,
Yeah, I'm excited about that in particular. Not that I minded the powers in Life is Strange. Like that mechanic was, occasionally cool, but I really like the idea of like, no, we're going to have sort of a more mundane story focusing on characters and their relationships. Like for a game, even like, within the realm of like episodic sort of storytelling games, like that's cool.
yeah. Well, and the thing that strikes me as weird about people
complaining about the lack of like a power hook like that is like the first Life is Strange wasn't really about rewinding time. I mean, like that was a bullet point that you could put on a features list and sort of like raise people's curiosity with it, but like that was so specifically tied to the like theme and message of that series of not being able to change the past or sticking with the decisions you make. Like that was so much a part of like Max's story that the idea of shoehorning something like that into Chloe's just. I'm glad that they are not trying.
Yeah.
I have two big red flags on that one though. It's not Don't Nod,
Yeah.
and Ash isn't in it.
No, that's true. Yeah.
I think the Ashley thing is probably a bigger thing for me. I feel like Don't Nod. I don't know. I'm willing to give another studio shot. Like they could still pull it off. And it's not like Don't Nod is. I don't know. I liked Life is Strange, but I don't feel like they knocked it out of the park. I don't think they did something that like another studio couldn't necessarily do.
Yeah, I mean, Don't Nod is also the studio behind that memory.
Remember Me or
Remember Me.
Remember
Yeah,
Me?
yeah. And that upcoming vampire game, which again is not or vampire.
Yeah,
And this is
how are you supposed to pronounce that?
Yeah.
Vampire, I think.
Vampire.
I don't want like I don't
The
want
YouTube comments. will
I don't
let us
want to
know.
downplay their work because I have enjoyed a lot of what they've done in the past. I'm just saying like it's not like we're talking about Naughty Dog handing the reins off to someone else.
But they
here,
captured magic in the bottle with this last project, and now you're giving the bottle to somebody else.
Yeah.
Like that always is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
Raises question marks.
Especially it's also a little strange knowing that they are also working on a new Life is Strange. So it makes it a little hard to get invested in the current
Is
one.
Life is Strange that big of a property that
I guess it-
deserves
I
this
guess it
much?
is now.
Let's get
This
the Final Fantasy
Avengerizing
treatment.
of it?
I mean, yeah.
Square's like, let's do it.
So that comes out August 31st. August 29th, I'm really excited for XCOM 2, which is the same day as Mario Rabbids, which people have noted. It's going to be an interesting strategy battle.
You
Hey.
just skipped Madden, didn't you?
Did I? I thought that was in September.
No, that's.
Oh, no. I'm sorry, Bert.
What a
Well, we're
dick.
going backwards.
Wow.
August 25th, Madden. Should people be excited for this?
I don't know.
Okay.
They're doing a storyline, which is cool. You know, I think that might bring in some players that normally don't play sports games. They haven't really talked a lot about the gameplay yet, and what we've heard about the modes that people really like connected franchise mode. They're kind of taking the year off because they had to dedicate so many resources to moving to Frostbite, investing in this story mode that Scott Porter's in. They've been working on the story for 3 years. So I hope it's not a really bad, made for TV movie story.
Mhm.
We'll see.
Sure. Joe, is that going to get you to play Madden?
No.
I'll play it.
Just because of the story mode?
Yeah, just because of the story mode, because it looks like some Friday Night Lights stuff that takes place in the South, so I'm sold.
Are you? Do you watch football though?
No,
On the TV?
I don't care.
Okay. I don't think I'm going to play. I don't know what it would take to get me to play a football game, honestly. I played NBA Jam, which I recognize is not football, but that's the last sports game I really got into.
Yeah. I mean, I tried to play. There was one year where MLB had some big RPG developments in it or something, and Reiner really gave me the sell on it, and I took it back and just realized for someone who is not playing those games sort of year to year, there's something super intimidating and hard to grasp to someone like me who hasn't played the games but also doesn't really follow the sport. It's I know the basic rules of baseball and football and those kinds of things, but there's just so much wrapped up in that experience that is just overwhelming and inaccessible to me, that the idea of just there's a story mode in this game, I'm going to try and play it. Whereas when I watch Kato or Bert's playing Madden, it's just the interface itself. It's not that I couldn't figure it out, but it just seems like there is so much to get through to even just understand how to play the game.
Yeah, they can't make games for you. That's the conundrum for sports teams. They can't make the game for you because if they make the game for you, all the rest of us are really fucking pissed.
Yeah.
We're like, why are you dumbing this down so much? We don't want this.
I think the last football game that I played and really loved was the one that was just really brutal and nasty. That had Mortal Kombat kind of actual combat in it with Blitz or something.
Blitz has elements of that. Yes.
You would tackle someone and you'd see their bones break.
Yep.
I can't remember.
Blitz the League. Yeah, that was the last Blitz game.
Look,
Where
I
they
like
kinda
what I
went
like, Joe.
Hey, no, that sounds awesome. I want to play that. Last football game I played was Tecmo Super Bowl.
Well, Mutant League football should be come out. I don't know
I
if it's
tried
this
playing
year,
that
but
once. Not Mutant League. What is it? The one?
Mutant Football League.
Yeah, it wasn't my thing.
Well, a couple other notable games that you might want to know in August: Mega Man Legacy Collection 2 and Sonic Mania, Lawbreakers. Those could be exciting for some people.
What's
Probably
in
not anybody
September?
at this table.
Go on to
but
September.
It'll be really boring if we just go through and read every name on the list. But September,
But let's do it anyway.
right out of the gate, Knack 2. Or should we talk about this?
I thought you said we're not going to read everything on the list.
Well, the day after Knack 2 is Destiny 2. Is anybody going to be playing Destiny 2? Because everybody's going to be playing Knack, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like everyone will be playing Knack.
I feel like we should talk about Destiny 2. You guys, is anybody here planning on playing Destiny 2?
Yeah, I'm gonna play it.
I
Like
will.
just to give it another shot. Like I did not enjoy the original Destiny, especially because I was a freelancer then. And if you didn't write about Destiny and play Destiny for about a period of 4 or 5 months, you didn't eat. Like you didn't make rent. Like
Sure.
Yeah.
that's just so.
Hmm.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
I'll say, like, my enthusiasm for Destiny was probably at the highest when Taken King came out. I
Yep.
feel like
Yeah.
they fixed a lot of problems that the series had. I got into it for a while. I think Destiny 2 looks like kind of continuing to like fix some of the problems that the first game had. There was only so much they could do because legacy problems, but they finally like gotten to start over with a lot of the tech and rebuild. And I think it looks fun.
Yeah.
I am surprised about how much it still just looks exactly like Destiny. I think people who were only casual Destiny fans see it from a distance and they're like, still just kind of looks like the same game.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I played through the Taking King, I think was the last thing I did. I did a raid with Miller once, tagged along on one of his tourism voyages, and that was fun. But that loop is just not for me. As much as I love the gunplay of that series, and it's really good,
Yeah.
the multiplayer does nothing for me. And that constant grind through strikes and raids to get some legendary weapon, like that's not me. You
Yeah.
know, there's a ton of people who love that, obviously, but
It's a big grind. I'm hoping the story comes together more than the first one did. At least give me some reason to keep playing through for the story. I'll probably play it a couple times, like at least once through, and then maybe hunt for a couple of weapons. But
What's it like going on a raid with Miller? Is it like one of those sort of tours at a place where you like pass by a bunch of signs and placards and you press a button
Oh,
and
yeah.
then it's like an audio recording? Like
you know, as a guy who's been a DM for a long time, he's really good at nurturing people through an experience. So it's actually he's a good tour guide.
He really is. I haven't played with him in Destiny before, but he and I played WoW together back in the day. And again, like, yeah, he's very good at that.
there is sort of a reality warping ability he has where you're talking about something, you're like, oh, hey, this is kind of cool. And then he'll go off on the lore for it. And you're like, oh, this sounds really interesting. You like get yourself into it like, oh, this is really cool, actually.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
next day you realize, like, wait, did I think Destiny was cool?
That's what makes him a great DM.
I don't
He's-
want to crap
he-
on it. I
he's
think
good at
Destiny
roping
2
you
will be
in.
a lot of fun.
I mean, we have people in this office that they're counting down the days.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I think for Destiny fans, they should be looking forward to this. This is probably the biggest game for them this year, for
Hey,
sure.
when do we get to talk about Danganronpa 3?
You want to talk about that game?
Yeah.
All right. Why are you excited for that, Joe? I don't even have that on my list. When does it come out?
I don't have the release date in front
it's
of
like
me either.
September, late September, I feel like.
Yeah. So that's like talking before about Assassin's Creed and sort of like not being totally sure what to expect. I'm fairly certain I know exactly what to expect from Danganronpa 3 to the point like I don't need to know anything more about that game right now. Like I love those first two so much. Anything that I learn about it would just sort of be like story spoilers at this point.
This is
But-
the murdery bear kind of novella.
Yeah,
It's-
exactly,
It's like
exactly.
Ace Attorney meets Saw, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a a visual novel series that has previously been on Vita and has since come to like it's come to PC and PS4 now. Yeah, I mean it's basically a visual novel, but it's got this like weird dark twist to it. Some cool elements of like I don't know. I'm a big sucker for revenge, and there's some good like revenge and comeuppance in those games
Sure.
too. So anyway, yeah,
All right.
I'm really looking forward to that one. Yeah.
Okay. Possibly look forward to that. Birds, should we talk about NHL?
No, we don't have to.
No, that's not something we should look forward to. Because I feel like the NHL
I
games,
always
aren't they?
look forward to it, but it's kind of been in a rut this generation. You know, I'm a hockey guy. I just want a competent hockey game, and so many of the systems are the ones that they carried over from the last console generation that I feel like I'm still waiting for it to catch up. And part of that problem is like resources. You know, NHL isn't as popular as soccer and basketball and football and baseball, so they don't have the size of a team that those other games have.
Sure.
So they're just trying to do more with less.
Well, it comes out September 15th, which is the same day as Dishonored. The
Yeah.
Dishonored Death.
I'm going to be busy.
Death
that
of the
day.
Outsider, which is probably what you'll be playing. I assume, right?
Danganronpa, by the way, is September 26th.
Oh, there you go.
Mhm.
Perfect. But
Yeah, I'm
Death of the
curious
Outsider.
about that one.
I'm excited for that one. for sure. Like I was a big fan of Dishonored 2, well, all the Dishonored games.
Mhm.
And I actually played, I'm not a huge DLC guy, but I played the DLC for the first
Knife of Dunwall.
Dishonored.
Knife of Dunwall and the
Which was
Prism
actually really
Witches, yeah.
good.
Yeah, it's
So
super good.
This one I think will continue that trend, and I'll always take more Dishonored. I like the way those games are structured and hiding through the dark and porting around everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
And it
excited to
feels
play
like-
as Billy. Really excited about that.
And it feels like the end, kind of, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
In the death of the outsider, you're going to kill the deity that gives all the interesting characters you've played thus far superpowers. You know, like,
Sure.
sounds like this might be the end. So I'm really curious if it is the end, what they're going to do with it.
So during E3, I was tasked by Reiner with like gathering the funniest tweets, and one of them that we put up on the site was "We're gonna kill the outsider" is like we're gonna steal the Constitution, like of Dishonored.
Nick Cage?
Yeah,
Yeah, one of those things where it's like in a video game, it's okay to do this, but when you think about realistically the capability, like the effort required,
Yeah.
there is no way to succeed at that task.
yeah.
You're going to punch God in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So every Final Fantasy ever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
September 15th, that's also the day that Metroid Samus Returns comes out.
Woo.
So it's a big day. Later in the month, one thing I think is worth noting, September 29th, Cuphead is supposed to release, which is kind of the indie darling that I think everybody's been looking forward to
The
for like
oft
4
delayed.
years. Yeah.
Supposed to release, I think, is a key phrase
Yeah.
there. I'm not
Now, on
putting money on
September 28th, everyone is going to be watching the screen waiting for the delay.
The
Yeah.
countdown.
just
Yeah,
like-
it's the same way that like when I still remember when Dance with Dragons, the like Song of Ice and Fire book came out, is like that had been delayed or like supposed to be out so many times at that point. Like it wasn't until I was just holding it in my hand that I was like, okay, I'll believe that this is.
And then
out
you
now.
opened it up and there was a bunch of empty pages.
Yeah, it's just blank. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a real.
like after
blank.
Half-Life 2 got delayed, like there was one time it was like 3 weeks away from release, and Valve was like, nope, we're going to delay it like a whole nother year or something. And from that moment on, I was like, a game does not exist until it's in my console or my PC.
Sure.
Like,
So you guys don't trust this Cuphead release date is what I'm picking up on.
We could. I'm just not hanging my hat.
Okay, fair enough. Fair
Yeah.
enough. I feel like it's been delayed enough where this could be the one, is what I feel like. I wouldn't be surprised if it got delayed either,
mean,
but this could also be
You
the
sound
one.
like Shay talking about the next Sonic. This
could be
the
it,
one.
man.
this could be it.
Finally, it's our
that's
time.
that's what I said about Final Fantasy 15's release, like that big September release date last year that they had the big March event for announcing. I'm like, well, this has been in development for 10 years. There's no way they'd announce a release date if they weren't 100% sure they could hit it.
That's still one of my favorite stories we've ever had on the Game Informer website is Joe's Chronicles of the Final Fantasy 15 release. Just running down all the stops
my
and
gosh.
starts.
It's just like you read it and you're like, what a cluster. Like, just like that is.
Yeah, that game has a real interesting story behind it.
Okay. Well, should we move on to October here?
Oh, God.
This is where I think start to heat up even more. Battle Chasers is a game that I'm looking forward to, actually. It's October 3rd.
It looks cool.
It's from Joe Madureira. Airship Syndicate is the name of the studio, but they're like Vigil. Is that
Yeah.
right? Yeah, Vigil. The guys who did Darksiders 1 and 2. And this game, I mean, it looks great because Joe Madureira, its art's awesome, but it's also like plays kind of like Final Fantasy, like a classic turn-based Final Fantasy game. And all accounts seems like it's going to be really good. It's one of those games that I'm worried is going to get overlooked and might not sell well or sell as much as it deserves, but I think it looks like it'll be a good game.
Speaking of games overlooked, I want to jump back real quick. I want to mention later this month, like July 25th, I think, is Pyre from
Oh,
Supermassive.
Bastion.
Super
not
Giant.
Supermassive, Super Giant.
Yeah.
The other
So, like,
yeah.
the studio who did Bastion and Transistor, both critically acclaimed, successful games, like their new one's coming out.
This is their fantasy NBA Jam game, right?
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
that's another one to look forward to, and that's coming up soon.
Yeah.
Also, October 3rd is Forza Motorsport 3, which I think Carnuts should be excited for.
If we don't get a Porsche when we buy that game, I'm just
I
disappointed.
thought it comes with a Porsche.
Yeah, it should come with a Porsche.
That's what the Microsoft press conference led me to believe. You wouldn't give the Porsche that much time on stage if it didn't come
Well, at
with
a
the game,
gaming
right?
conference, yeah. I mean,
I can't believe they dedicated so much time to that. We were watching the stream just like, what?
But let's talk about the Porsche.
Yeah.
Hey, if you like racing games, I know car nuts who are really into that car, by the way. But yeah,
corn nuts who are really
corn nuts were really into it. All right, Middle Earth Shadow of Mordor 2. You guys excited for this one?
I was until I played it.
I'm
what?
not.
Really?
Yeah, it's like it could get a lot better, but there's just something because I played the raid thing where you're like assaulting the castle and everything, and it's just so confusing and like it's very hectic. It feels more like a Total War game almost than like, oh, this is Middle Earth. Like there's just so much going on. So I'm hoping it just takes some battles to get used to, but I was just really like overwhelmed.
I'm sure they're gonna ramp you up. Monolith's good at that kind of thing.
Did you
I
like
just-
the first one?
I'm burnt the fuck out.
Of
Lord of
that?
the Rings, like the Hobbit trilogy destroyed Lord of the Rings for me. I've tried to watch the first Hobbit movie 4 or 5 times,
That
and
movie's
every
so
time you
bad.
get to the singing, like dinner party where they're passing plates around, I just turn it off. I'm like,
Sure.
I can't do it.
Did you make it to the water, to the barrels in the river? Like,
I don't think so.
no,
I
that's
think
that's where I tuned out. I was like, I'm done.
That was pretty bad.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
just burnt out, man. Like the game's probably going to be really good. I just don't want to spend any more time.
Well, that's what I think is like the game itself will probably be pretty good. And they had that trailer with the orc who was like doing dumb things
Oh,
with his
Bruce.
mouth. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like, this doesn't feel like Lord of the Rings for one. So like you can just pretend it's some fake fantasy setting and you'll probably be just as
I mean, it's
lost.
totally like every time I look at it. I mean, I know it kind of annoys Miller, but it's just, dude, this is fan fiction. Like this is officially licensed fan fiction that you get to play around and stomp around in. That's all this is. And like, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. For me, I think I was not as high on the first game as I think a lot of people in our office were. I think Bertz and I are kind of the main dissenters on that one.
Yeah.
No, I didn't love it
Um,
either.
You weren't
But-
here yet. You weren't here for the Battle Royale Game of the Year.
It was a big discussion.
blowout.
That's
I
for
think
sure.
my first review for Paste was Mordor, and I didn't hear the end of it for like 4 months because I gave it a low score. It was just like, holy shit, you guys,
And-
it's not that good. It's fine. It's absolutely
Yeah,
fine.
and I should say, like, the opinions here are actually, I think, the minority in our
Yeah.
office. Like,
Just like
most
Destiny.
people, most people up, like, and the rest of the office are really excited for it. For me personally, it was just like that open world wasn't interesting enough for me, and the ending of that game, and like for all of the like attention the Nemesis system got, just the way that just sort of shrivels at the end was not satisfying. But anyway, that's for me. I'm going to play Shadow of War. I think it has a lot of room to improve, and I'm excited to see if that happens.
Yeah. For me, like,
Uh,
because I was on that other camp, the war camp of like, I really liked Shadow of Mordor. And the Nemesis system in particular is the thing that got me. So, like, anything that's just more of that. I think the way you kind of like craft your own stories, talk about like just player driven narrative, like, this is a game for that. And so I'm excited to like dominate more dudes and just build an army and send my army after,
You're excited to tell him.
build up really strong dudes.
If you find your joy wherever you find
Hey,
it,
you know what?
that's fine.
I'm excited
Yeah,
for it.
That's fine.
So that's October 10th. We also have Evil Within 2. Anybody excited for that one?
no.
I don't even know what that is, honestly.
Really? The like horror.
No,
shooter?
I know what the franchise is, but like the game comes out in October, and all we've seen is the hype trailer from E3. It's really
super
weird.
isn't it?
Yeah.
I did not like that
Is there a
first
chance
game.
that's going to get delayed then?
I don't think so. I mean, that's a bold move. This is the new reality of like, NBA 2K has been doing this for years. They don't do any press at all until like a month before the game comes out.
Yeah.
And they're like, check it out. Aren't you excited? You can
And
buy it.
Especially Bethesda, who just does things on their own terms, more or less. Now.
Yeah.
So-
I hope it works for them because whatever they did with Dishonored didn't work. Whatever they did with Prey didn't seem to work sales wise.
Seems like
a
Doom
bummer.
sold pretty well, right?
Yeah. Doom
Let's
sold
go
well.
back. that's
that far,
Doom.
but
Yeah.
it
People-
does have a legacy behind it that these other games didn't.
I still haven't played Evil Within 2. Or
Or the first one?
The
Well,
first one.
neither have I,
No.
Joe.
Yeah. You know.
Yeah, I did not care for it. I think I'm in the minority with that though, because people seem really hyped on it, but it's just not for me. I can't get over like the bad camera, which is rare for me. Like usually I can get over bad cameras, but the camera in that game is horrific. So
Sure.
This podcast has turned interesting. It's become the most anticipated games that these 4 people shit on.
Yeah.
hi everyone,
Talking
like,
about
share, and subscribe.
All right.
talking about shitting.
Start up our new segment, The Naysayers.
We actually have the next game, South Park: The Fractured
Awesome.
Butthole.
There we go. Nice
Yeah,
segue.
so it's well, and also speaking of delayed games, like is this? I've heard rumors that this one could still get delayed, and I know what Trey Parker I think was on a Nerdist podcast recently talking about it, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't know, like maybe it won't come out." Like, so I mean, it won't come out at this time. So it's currently scheduled for October 17th. I'm hopeful it comes out because I love the crap out of that last game, and I'm really looking forward to playing this one. I'd really like to play a new South Park game because those games are hilarious. And
It's a good window for them too because there's almost no RPGs coming out. That second half of the year.
yeah,
There are some games like I think Divinity is coming to consoles, and the Pillars of Eternity is getting like the Game of the Year edition. So there are going to be some kind of RPGs that maybe people missed first time around to play. But other than that, and like Ni no Kuni, what is there?
Sure.
I mean, Xenosaga or Xenoblade Chronicles, apparently.
Supposedly.
I guess Battle Chasers, if you're into that kind of
Yeah.
RPG.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's not a lot of big releases. I think you're right.
Yeah.
And then, we've already talked about Assassin's Creed, Mario, Wolfenstein. We have not talked about Call of Duty. So November
Yeah, we did.
3rd.
Yes, we
did.
have
We
twice.
Yeah.
I brought it up.
Was I
JV
asleep?
brought it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Are
just
you guys
tune
looking
out.
forward to that one?
Yeah, I'm.
You guys want to repeat that discussion?
We've talked
No,
about
no,
it.
All right. Well, we've talked about most of the games on the rest of the list. I will say, like, December, the only game that we have on our personal list is Steep Road to the Olympics. So December is kind of usually a low month, or
I mean,
there's
that's
not
our-
a lot released that month, but I don't know if there's anything that could come out. Or
I mean, that's usually like our backlog month, right?
Yeah,
Where we're
it's-
like working through stuff for Game of the Year discussion.
If
time to clean up.
There's usually one game that comes out there that screws us over.
if Xenoblade comes out in 2017, which as we discussed last episode, I'm not totally convinced that's going to happen. But the Wii U Xenoblade game came out in December. So maybe
Well, I looked up that last December, Super Mario Maker for the 3DS came out, Dead Rising 4 came out, Yakuza 6, Super Mario Run. So there were like some good games that came out in December. So we could see that again this year, maybe some late additions.
Yeah, speaking of Yakuza, we didn't talk about this in
Yakuza
September.
Kiwami.
Yeah, that one's coming out in September. Or no, late August.
which
And
is the remake of the first one.
yeah,
right?
the remake of the first one. I'm excited for that. Like, I'm finally polishing off Yakuza 0, and it's super good.
Yeah, I think it's interesting
is.
that for a series that's been around for so long, like just sort of randomly, it's this game, Yakuza 0, that's the one that's like, hey, people are finally paying attention to this series.
Mhm.
I know that I never really cared for it before, and
Sometimes it's finding that spot in the year where nothing else is really grabbing people's attention.
Yeah, because
and
that came
everybody
out
kind of
in
looks. and-
January, right?
Yeah.
I remember people when it came out was like, "Hey, this is the first great game of 2017," which I think worked really well for them.
Yeah,
but-
I'm kind of concerned that a lot of people, by the time we get to the end of the year, will forget, and not just us, everyone's doing Game of the Year discussions. Like, people will forget about that one in Resident Evil 7 just because they were so early. Because that tends to happen.
Yeah.
Maybe Horizon. No, not Horizon. People love Horizon. So yeah.
Yep. Well, there you have it. Looks like the fall's going to be a good time to play games, right?
Yep.
Looking forward to
I'm
it.
looking forward to a lot of these games. So thanks for joining me on the discussion, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
And thanks for watching the Game Informer show. Be sure to tune in next week where we'll have another one wait for you. And Ben Hansen, the less handsome Ben, will be back to talk at you. Bye. Bye.